derivative still.
There she is. There she is.
Can I offer you some tea?
Would you make me some of that Plomeek soup?
Good tea. Nice house. We go together or not at all?
Don't be a fool!
Hello and welcome to Plomeek Tea Time number 97. And this is a very special tea time because it's not on our usual Friday slot. So here we are on this Sunday for a very special journey that we're going to have. Oh no, I'm sorry. There was something in my teeth. Exploring Lance Nielsen's new book called Silver Screen Journeys. And
hello.
Yes, I'd like to welcome Lance. I've been friends with you for a while, but reading
It seems like
you're
seems like years, but it's probably about a year, I think, maybe. But
yeah, it's really just
longer.
It does feel a little longer, but and I knew you made movies and did plays and all of that stuff, but I didn't know just how much of all of those things that you did. You've done a lot of it, and it's been filled, as much as it's been filled with some turmoil, it's also been filled with a lot of joy, and that's what this book seems to be about. Your silver screen journeys. Do I have that right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, sorry, let me just mute my phone from beeping at us. It's quite a unique book because it's really a sequel to the previous book I wrote, which is a sequel of sorts, which was 1988. I released that a couple of years ago. Briefly, that book is, I found an old diary from 1988, and that happens to be the first year that I traveled to the States. And of course, back then, there was anything between 6 months to up to 2 years between films being released in America and films being released in the UK. Typical time was about 9 to 11 months. So, of course, when I was over in the States, and being the massive film nerd that I was like, woo, every day off I had, I'd go to the mall and I'd go and see like 4 films back to back, barely having time to buy a hot dog for lunch or something. And I kept a list of all the films I saw in that diary, and that's one of the few years I kept a diary every day. So when I decided this might make an interesting book, I reviewed all the films as well, and that's what led me to the idea for Silver Screen Journeys, which is sort of similar.
Okay, see, I was just surprised at how insanely amazing your memory was, and I didn't realize you actually kept a film diary, and so that makes so much sense.
Well,
because you remember almost everything.
I only kept a daily diary for a couple of years, 88 and 89. I've lost the 89 one, but what I have kept is all my cinema tickets. So a lot of these memories were provoked by looking back at those cinema tickets, apart from the period where I've got there's roughly a 10-year age gap from when I had a brain incident with my brain, which explains the unique person that I am today. So there's a huge section of my memory was wiped, and there's sort of this big period where I just can't remember anything. So that bit's
remember more than I've forgotten. So I just want to say hello to everybody in my chat.
That's cool.
I'm saying hello to you. But also, YouTube likes to eat chats, so I do also want to say hello to Suzanne and not Canadians. Well, I do want to say hello to Canadian Spider-Man because he's here, but also Pleasant Valley Picker CA were the first commenters on this live stream, but YouTube devoured their chats.
Yeah, that YouTube does that. It's sort of, if you post too early on a stream, the comments don't stay there very long.
No, I know. That's why I have a habit of screenshotting the previous the first comments so that I can address them later. I didn't do that this time, but I remembered who commented. And you need the link. I was late sending that to you.
That's all right.
Greek letters or Dionysius Larson is here. Well, are we going to get this party started or what? Here we are, Canadian Spider-Man. Hello and welcome, everyone. Hello, Spidey. Lombardi 1969 says, greetings and good afternoon. Hello. And then I also posted the USA and UK links to your book if people are interested in reading it. I have to finish it because I read a hodgepodge of the chapters that you suggested to me. And so now I need to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, it was the timing was a little tight for you to have. You would have had to have read the book in record time.
Well, I at least got through what you asked.
Yeah, I mean the selection I gave you gives you a pretty good sort of overview of not only my passion for films, but also the kind of the flavor for the book, because it's not a movie review book, although I do talk about the films and I do sort of critique them a bit. But
Sometimes it sounds like you can't help it.
well, I mean, of course I'm going to talk about them because it's all about specific memories attached to going to see those specific films, and also if those films ate into my personal time in another way, to put that in a context you would greatly appreciate it. If I wrote a TV book like this, and I'm thinking of doing that at some stage, one of your picks would be Star Trek. And you wouldn't just write a short bit about Star Trek. You'd write a long section about how Star Trek went to have a massive impact on your life, and how, you know, you became a Trekkie effectively, and now it's part of your YouTube channel, and so on and so on and so on.
I could already tell you I'd probably break it up into characters.
I mean, you could probably write a whole book on how Star Trek's directly impacted your life. I mean, this is about those films that have done that, and I didn't include them all, and I've remembered loads of things since as well, like my birthday party to see Black Hawk Down was quite a big thing, and I completely forgot about that one.
You seem to make really great movie parties. I want to make sure I say hello to Keith E.
Yeah,
and DJ Knight. DJ Knight's also here. Thank you. Congratulations on your book, says DJ Knight.
thank you very much. And also to our Greek friend in the chat. Actually, one of the stories in the book is how I came to travel to Greece and then subsequently make my third feature film in Greece. That story is covered in here, in some, not massive detail, but to some degree.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think I'm not certain, but I think Canadian Spider-Man wants to visit Greece next year.
I would highly recommend it. Could certainly suggest a few.
So the first, yeah. So the first section I read it out of order at first, and then I read it in order. So the first one I read was True Lies.
And okay.
We start with getting the details of all the jobs you had, but you didn't have a very good job during the time that you watched this movie.
Well, I worked I worked for Virgin Retail for a while, and I got promoted, and I went to a new store. And I don't want to get into the full detail of what happened. I mentioned it briefly in the book, which is the first time I've ever actually talked about that specific.
Yeah, you don't have to explain too much. But I did giggle when you called your boss a see you next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, well I won't also say that word on here, but otherwise Retro Nerd Girl will come and tell me off. And I'm trying not to swear on YouTube, and I'm on other people's channels. It's fine on my own. It's not very polite. No, I mean, I worked for Virgin. I was in the film department. I was the film buyer. And unbeknownst to me, I upset somebody who was working for one of the big film distributors. I won't say who on here. And,
but it was because you wouldn't buy enough copies of Ultraman.
Well, I gave that as an example. I mean, basically, they were always very pushy, trying to get me to buy, large numbers of tapes that I knew weren't going to sell, and obviously that was their job. My job was to choose the number of tapes that would sell in any given week or month. And I was pretty good at that job because I knew my films, and I kind of knew the ones that people were going to come in and buy and that were going to sell well. So I was pretty good at doing that. And, I took umbrage with this particular person. And what I didn't know was they were sleeping with someone quite high up in the company, my company. And they set wheels in motion to have me fired. And I didn't know that was what had happened until quite some time later. That came out quite a long time after that. Yeah, it was a horrendous situation and resulted in what we call an industrial tribunal, which is a bit like an employment court case. I took them to court and I won, by the way. But we were right in the middle of that all going on. It was a horrendous time, and again, I can't remember much about it. I had to lean on people to sort of tell me this story, but a group of my friends basically said, look, let's go and see the new James Cameron movie. Let's go and see True Lies. And it was on at my favorite cinema as well, Empire Screen 1, which I talk about in the book quite a bit. And
Yes, you do. You talk about theaters, movie theaters or cinemas, just like as if there were people.
I think that's really key to the cinema experience. I've mentioned this before on Critical Drinkers Open Bar. You can't compare going to see the opening night of The Fellowship of the Ring or any of the Lord of the Rings 3 films. Opening night, first public performance, 1,200 people in the cinema, every seat taken, everyone hanging on every, scene, word, dialogue, everybody's grip. No one's on their phone. When you gasp, you all gasp together. When you cheer, you all cheer together. That is a collective, emotional, human experience that you rarely get in the cinema these days, because you don't get those big opening nights anymore because people are fed up of superhero films. So
and there's not that sense of urgency where you have to stand in line and hope you get a seat. At midnight, you choose your seats online. You have a seat, you can relax or whatever, and it's during the day now that people see the movies.
Yeah, and I think also it's almost impossible now to go and see a movie where someone doesn't get their phone out at some point. And and it may well be that they might have a legitimate excuse for checking on a babysitter or whatever, but we did perfectly well without phones for a really long time. And
yeah, we did. And well, there's only one place. Well, we do have the Alamo Draft House here where phones are not allowed. And if you're
Right.
texting, if you see somebody with the phone and it's bothering you during the movie, you can put up a little card, mentioning it. I've never done that to anybody, but it's there. The option's there.
The thing
If
is,
someone's talking.
in the UK, if you did that in a local cinema, you went out and complained about someone, the chances are you're going to have a fight with someone outside the cinema afterwards.
Well, you don't physically complain. There's a little order card, like when you order the little paper where you order drinks and stuff, so nobody will know who told on you.
Well, that's a good system, but we don't have that here, sadly. But so what I'm giving the reader is the experience that we had then, of going to see those films, those huge films. I take people right through the 80s, which is actually probably about 30% of the book, because I was literally going to the cinema every week. I was working in a cinema.
You were seeing a lot of movies. Before we get more into that, I do want to say hello. There's a special congratulations that I need to give to Kermit the Frog, who is now an uncle. He says, I have happy news on Christmas Eve. My sister-in-law had her baby boy on 23 inches long. Oh, probably 8.5 pounds is probably what it is. Everyone is doing good. That is great news, Kermit Frog.
Congratulations. It's good to get some good news, because a lot of people I know seem to have had a bad Christmas with various, things happening. So it's good to hear some good news.
Yeah. No, I know. Christmas is a rough time for a lot of people, so it is good to hear good news. I agree completely. And we sort of have a request here. Holds cookie, and then it says, put the cookie down. So
backing away slowly. So does that mean he's leaving a cookie out for me? I'm sort of in a Santa Claus type situation.
Oh no, I think it's a reference to Jingle All the Way. I had it.
Okay. Yeah, that movie is not in the book. Actually, do you know what? There's only one Christmas film in the book, and that's Die Hard, of course.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie, no question.
Right.
Yeah. Put that cookie down now.
Here it is.
No, it's my cookie.
Greek Letters Larson says there's two movies that transformed the cinema in Circus: 300 and Independence Day.
I would
cheering wildly.
I would agree on Independence Day, because that film for me, from what I can recall, and again it's difficult because again this was the sort of period where my memory got wiped, but I know I saw it twice. once in a city outside of London, and once in central London at my favourite cinema during a visit to my parents. And what I most remember about that film is it was one of the first times I felt the same awe as when I first went to see Star Wars as a kid, the first Star Wars movie in the 70s. And there's been a few milestone movies that have given me that similar sense of awe. Jurassic Park being another one.
yes.
Avatar being another one. You know, sort of technology and certain things going to the next level. Independence Day is the perfect popcorn movie. It's just a fact. I love it. I mean, a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's great.
I do too. I watched it as a kid, and it was a great adventure and a lot of fun. But back to True Lies, and after you won, well, you won that battle. That was good. You won that,
Yeah.
and that watching this movie lifted your spirits.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that was one of the cinema was always kind of my escape, you know, and it was one of the things I would do to sort of keep my mind occupied, at least for 2 hours. I would know, you know, I'd be taken on a journey by somebody else, and the film would make me feel something. Some films would make me feel better. Some films would actually make me feel worse. Case in point being, I think it was Can't Buy Me Love, or no, the one with Tom Hanks, Nothing in Common. Remember, I had a very clear memory of crying in the cinema when I was watching that film.
Yeah, it seems like movies have very strong effect on you concerning your memories of your own life, and you could interconnect them and interweave them.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was able to sort of remember these kind of specific vignettes. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in my life I can't remember at all. But these things, yeah, I was, you know, and actually when I was writing the book, there was loads of stuff that came back to me, but I'd always try and check some of the things with a third party, like, you know, did we do this? Did we do that? Because I can't quite remember, and I get people to fill out some of the details and whatnot.
Oh yeah, so you had help with this book to help remember some things. That's good.
Not from any one person for any great period of time. It was more just a case
just to fill in the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, well, if I knew, oh, I think I saw that film with that person, I'd go, you know, check in with that person.
Either.
And yeah, they'd sort of tell me what they remembered, and then that might trigger some things that I go, oh yeah, no, I do remember that. But my trip to see Heat would be one of those where I checked in with somebody to remember.
I'd like to make sure I say hello to Swift -1, also known as Matt G.
Hello, Swift -1. How are you? Got a wrench.
Yes. I like True Lies because it starts off as one movie and turns into a completely different one, and unexpectedly, and that's really fun.
They so could have done 5 or 6 of those.
Definitely, yeah. Who doesn't love a husband and wife team? It even hints at the end when they're in that party scene that they're they're having more adventures.
That was the plan, and then, you know, as often happens, people were busy, and it was trying to get the same team back together, and I don't think Karen wanted to do it unless it was exactly how he wanted, and then, you know, next thing you know, he's off making something else. So yeah, I mean, but they could have done it, absolutely.
They could have. It's so playful. It had endless possibilities, as you're saying. Oh, and yeah, Keith E reminds us Lance recently hit 5,000 subscribers. Absolutely. I
did. Thank you so much. Yeah, 2 people got me over the line for that. Well, 2 groups of people, which was, I was on Open Bar, and that got me a couple of hundred, and also the old school Solo Ravers gang and all the people connected to the London rave scene have kind of rallied on my channel, and big support from them as well.
Oh, the rave scene too, in real life. Life people. I kind of don't tell a lot of real life people my channel exists, but some of them find out because my husband talks about it.
I never used to, but because I interview creative people, a natural segue into, I wanted to interview more people who worked in the arena of music, not just actors and people on a film set. Because of course, music.
That's true, because you are so creative, so it makes sense.
So now I've started interviewing. I think I've done 2 or 3 DJs. I've got a couple more coming in before the end of January. You know, I've got a legendary dancer called Vicky Lee, who's danced in all the clubs in Ibiza. She's like a massively well-known fitness instructor. She's like a gladiator, the Gladiator TV show. She could have easily been on that. And she's just
that's
fantastic.
great.
So she's coming in next week, I think.
Yeah, it was great. You talk with so many creative people, artists, and it's really neat. And also, that's cool. You just go on a live stream and get 200 subscribers. I'm struggling to get 2.
Well, I mean, I was very fortunate in the sense that, apart from the fact that Will and I are quite close friends, and we sort of met outside of YouTube where that friendship really burgeoned. So I didn't kind of initially meet him as the critical drinkers per se, but he also very kindly.
It's even better when you meet him outside of the scope of.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the YouTubes. So
I wanted to chat with him and talk about the state of the British film industry and what was happening with it, and I had a lot to say, and he had a lot to say, so it was a great first conversation. But he was kind enough to write the foreword for the book. He read an early version of it, one with even more typos in than the first one to be released. Yeah, so and incidentally,
speaking of which, I highlighted a couple in case they still haven't been fixed.
Tell me about them afterwards. I just want to say to anybody listening who's bought a copy, if you got it before the 19th of December, get in touch with me either by the Outcast Creative Facebook page or my Twitter, Lance Nielsen WD. I'm on Insta, but I don't really use that for work. And I'll send you an updated PDF, which is everything's been corrected in it.
I love having a book with typos because I got the first edition, so now it's it's more valuable.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's very unique. Yeah, indeed. So
I want to say hello to Northern England bastard.
Hey,
hail, you beautiful bastards! Lance, tell Jill Landman is highly recommended and is not a superhero movie. Just saying hello before I pop on. Stupenzos. Yeah, Stupenzo. Yeah, I like Stupenzo. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's doing his I forget the name of his particular stream, but he's going to be going for quite a while, so I may pop on there briefly later. Landman, great television series. Billy Bob Thornton, highly recommend it. We talked about it on the Nielsen Ratings, my weekly chat show. And I can't recommend it more highly. I love the writing. I love the acting. It's just all-round a great show.
Before we start talking about Cocoon, I want to say hello to DJ Plain Ice. He says, "Hey." My voice is still coming back, so I can't, do everything right. But
that's all right. We're both croaky at the moment, so I think we're matching each other perfectly.
Good news. Well, Cocoon came out the year I was born. And I got to.
Oh my God.
Cocoon's a fun movie, and also we got to do a commentary film analysis about it on your channel, which also was the very first time I showed up on your channel. So I appreciated this movie because it's extremely difficult to pull off optimism, which is why most movies go for pessimism. So the twist on that was very appealing to me.
I mean, Cocoon is a fantastic movie, second directorial movie of Ron Howard, who's a fantastic all-rounder director, solid director. One of the reasons it's so great is we didn't get many sort of films with a wide appeal that had, for a want of a better word, old age pensioners as the leads. And you had 6 of them in this film. In fact, 8, including the 2 supporting characters. So that was really great, and as soon as I saw it, and I say this in the book, I wanted my grandmother to see it.
Definitely. Well, I think more movies should feature older people because they're not dead. Let them have some fun behind.
There are some great ones out there, but this is one of the best. It's a perfect blend of drama, science fiction, comedy, and pathos with a serious message. Would you get on that spaceship at the end?
Right. Would you live forever at the expense of never seeing the people that you love still on Earth? That is a tough question. And
not for me right now. I would get on the spaceship in a heartbeat because I don't have any family left, and I haven't got a partner at the moment. So, do you want to go and explore outer space, Lance? Yes, sign me up. I'm there as long as I don't have to work in the engine room. It's all good.
I'd have to be able to take like 15 people with me, probably.
Oh my god! Well, let me be one of those. I'll be on there. Oh, Jill, I've lost your audio, Jill. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry
No,
about
I
that.
can hear. I can hear. I can
Okay,
hear. We
you're
just got-
saying was this the last movie you remember watching with your grandmother?
Well,
Is that right?
my grandmother was too frail then to come and see it at the cinema. The last film me and my grandmother saw at the cinema was The Seawolves, which is also in the book. But the
Oh.
last film I remember watching, we rented it out on video, especially so my grandmother could see it, and we all sat round as a family and watched it. And that's the last time I can remember all of us sitting around together to watch that movie. In fact, funnily enough, we all sat round together to watch Star Trek 4 as well. The
Nice.
one with the whales, and I'm pretty sure my
Yes,
nan was
the
alive
voyage
for that.
home.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
I think she might have been there for that, but I'm not sure. So, because it wasn't it was a not sure memory, and anyone that could have verified it is no longer here. So, yeah, so I didn't include that one, but
Well, that's one of my favorite movies. I mean, actually, that is my favorite movie.
I think you did a little too much LDS.
LDS.
That was at the Empire Leicester Square, and oh, we got a clip now. Hang on. Oh, I've got the wrong screen on, haven't I? That's why.
Oh, you know what? We're lagging a little bit. Are we?
No,
lagging?
it's not. It's not that. You know what it was? It was I was talking to the YouTube stream instead of talking to the StreamYard stream, which I had open in a different window. What an idiot. Yeah. So one thing I'll tell you, you'll like this story. I don't think this story is in the book. So when Star Trek 4 opened, the Challenger disaster had just happened. Right, 1980.
Yes, dedicated in this movie at the beginning.
That's right, and again, saw it on opening night, Empire Leicester Square. So you're talking 900 to 1,000 people, every seat gone. In fact, me and all my friends couldn't sit together; we were kind of a bit scattered. And right at the beginning, suddenly the dedicated to the crew of the Challenger disaster came up with this kind of very sort of somber music, sort of Trekky somber, but a really somber version of it. And the whole cinema universally just went absolutely nuts, and they all stood up and gave that dedication a standing ovation. Incredible, before the film had even started.
Wow, that's it always hits you in the heart, because Star Trek is so meaningful to it inspired so many people to go into things like space exploration, among other things. And
I think very,
the
very
care
true.
that Star Trek has for the reality of actual spaceflight being extremely dangerous, and sometimes in that exploration, well, it was said better by the presidential speech about it. But I didn't realize the entire theater erupted in applause for that. I've always appreciated that dedication.
In a cinema in Leicester Square, they did so. So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, always remember that. Always remember that.
But going back to Cocoon, it wasn't just. It was also the first time that you talked to a crush, and so your dad, because you're really young when you saw this. So you went to the movie with your dad.
Yeah. The girl at school that I was crushing on, she gets mentioned in the book a fair bit. So I guess I'll just Anna is her name, and she was my first girlfriend. And all the memories I've got left of her are specifically attached to films we went to see, many of which I still have the tickets for again. So one of the things I did before I wrote the book was I sketched a map of where all the cinemas were at that time, because loads of them have gone now, or they're not the same. Just that also helped sort of solidify some of the memories for me. So when we went to see Cocoon, her and her friend were also in the cinema, and I was like, Dad, there's that girl at school that I like, And he said, well, you should go over and say hello then. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I sort of went up, and I can't remember what we talked about, but I know that was the first time I ever talked to her outside of school. Was at
Seems
the
like it went
screening.
well.
It was at the screening of Cocoon just before the movie started. They sat like a couple of rows up just over from us, and I just went over and said, hello, yeah, film's going to be good, blah, blah, blah. And
I thought that was really cute. This is a good little story there. Greek Letters Larson also says Cocoon was the first movie with aliens I saw, and it moved me deeply. And I first imagined that aliens wanted to help humanity. Big mistake. Not necessarily. They could be friendly.
I probably just don't want to get embroiled in our nonsense politics. Cocoon. I mean, I can't watch Cocoon without crying. I mean, I cried twice in the movie at the same two places. Every single time I watch it without fail. Every single time.
Right. I agree. Well, one of that has to be the alien dying. Since the other grieving alien was experiencing that kind of intense feeling for the first time. But I also want to say hello to Curtis Selby.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's Curtis that I don't know if is that a regular of yours in chat, Curtis?
Actually, I think I've seen Curtis before, but not often.
I met a guy clubbing called Curtis a few weeks ago, and he has followed my channel and stuff. It's possible he could be popping in, but I think maybe this is somebody else.
Oh, it could it be? Could it be that Curtis?
I think it's probably someone else.
But I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
One way or the other, Curtis.
Sadly, not me, Lance. Oh, well, never mind. But if you come clubbing, I will also say hello to you as well. So that's guaranteed. I'll say hello to everybody.
The next chapter I read was Aliens, which is one of my favorites. That is so good. And, well, obviously, I love the maternal aspect of that movie, among other things. But here in this chapter, this section, you talk about your friendship with Alan Marquise, who was a visual effects supervisor.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced Alan Marks, and he was the visual effects supervisor on Jerry Anderson's Space Precinct. He also worked on GoldenEye, Muppet Treasure Island, and a whole load of various other things. And he worked for several big special effects houses before breaking out on his own. He was one of the first people to do CGI in the UK as well.
Oh, nice.
He worked for the legendary Magic Camera Company, which was based in Shepperton, sort of in-house effects company there. Yeah, I mean, he was just an incredible friend, so supportive, and I was constantly trying to get him a job because he was always doing me favors. And he did the special effects on my Diamonds in the Sky trailer, which was for my first book, and you can see that it's on my channel. Just type in Diamonds in the Sky book trailer or something. It's on the channel anyway.
Yes, definitely.
Alan did the spaceship.
The
Alan did the spaceship for that. So, and that was the last visual effects shots he did, actually, because I mean he got a rare form of blood cancer and he passed away. And he was due to
sorry.
Yeah, it was really, really hard because he was due to work on my big movie, the one that didn't happen. And that was really difficult because that was the movie where it was like, hey, Alan, I'm paying you back. Here's your paycheck for 75 grand, because that's what he was allocated in the budget because he was head of visual effects and we had quite a lot of visual effects planned for that film, important shots and things. And so I did get to talk to him before he passed away. So we had a really great conversation about that very topic. And
he sounds like a technical genius.
Lovely man, great with all that computer stuff. His wife Linda still does visual effects, in fact. But yeah, just incredible human being and very much missed, sadly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you lost him there, but you've got his memory and you express it here in this book and elsewhere, and you keep that alive. Canadian Spider-Man says, let's go clubbing in East Finchley. One place had a round pool table.
Oh, yeah, there is a club there, actually, funnily enough. And there's a cinema there, which I think is still there. So East Finchley, that's not that far from me, mate. That's 20 minutes by car tops.
Well, yeah, I like that Spidey knows exactly where to take you to have fun.
Yeah.
But speaking of friends we lost, my stream element spot brings up Bird of Prey 5 and my other friends every once in a while, and Curtis wants to say rest in peace, Bird of Prey 5. Yeah, kapla.
Well,
and yeah,
it's hard now at our age to get let alone the online community. It's hard now at our age to get through a year without losing somebody. You know, if you know
it was a rough year. It was a rough year this year. Well,
very hard for you, I know.
And the last year before that was Cardinal Sin. This year, besides Bird of Prey 5, also Clobberin Times, Pop Culture Curator.
Yeah.
It's not easy being online. With all the joys there are, there's it hurts a bit too. But I want to say hello to Max Redstone. Hi, Jill. Just here to drop a like. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you for being here.
DJ Playnice put the link in for the Diamonds in the Sky short film. There's actually 2 of them. That's one of them. The other one, if you'd search for it under the name Diamonds in the Sky Martin, I just remember the name of the character now. Will Johnson from Game of Thrones is in that trailer. Like they're like little short films that set up the book, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like during the time that you saw Aliens, you had a much better job, since you and 10 other people who worked at the same movie theater went to go see this film together at another theater. Except for one of them who was like, I work at a movie theater. I'm not going to go see.
Tracy Glass. I never forget Tracy Glass because she used to work at the cinema when I used to go in there as a kid. Chain smoking, gum chewing, hard as nails. What you see is what you get. I mean, I loved her to bits, actually. We clashed a few times, but on the whole, we got on really well.
And, well, some of the best friends are those who challenge you.
Yeah, no, but she was sort what we call in the UK, we have a term for it, salt of the earth. You know, people that have worked hard and got their hands dirty and are real people. You know, the kind of the glue of the city sort of thing. And she was one of those. And the cinema manager, who was called Mike, I can't remember his surname, he organised it. But that screening all came about as a result of Gale Ann Hurd, which I didn't find out until later. It was the very first public screening of Aliens anywhere in the world, because Aliens was shot in the UK. And of course, the British crew didn't like Cameron. So they were all spreading rumours that this film was going to be rubbish. And, having seen the final cut, Gale and Jim Cameron were confident that that was not going to be the case. So what they did was they set up this advanced Thursday night midnight screening. No one did those back then in 1986. And it was in the biggest cinema in the UK, which was the Odeon Marble Arch at the time, which when you watched a film there in 70mm, which we saw Aliens in, you're talking the screen from left to right is about the size of like 4 or 5 houses. You know, it's about the size of six New York brownstones, left to right. Massive, like an IMAX, huge screen. This is before IMAX was a thing, and it was completely packed out because they invited all the people that worked at all the cinemas in the UK. That was a big thing, and that's how we came to hear about it. And unbeknownst to me, Gale Ann Hurd and Jim Cameron were sitting about 5 rows behind me upstairs.
So they were there to see the audience reaction.
They wanted to see what the public reaction to the film was going to be. And I can't tell you what an amazing experience. Like, if I had to list like the best 5 cinema going experiences of my life, Aliens would definitely be in the top 5. The Lord of the Rings trilogy would be another one.
You say in the book that it was the best experience.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I've never seen
like
an audience
5 or 6
on
times
the edge of their seats. You know, every jump scare, every piece of action, every face hugger leap. You know, everybody moved. It was. It's just incredible experience. Everybody was so into the film from the get-go.
No, I've seen this movie several times and I still flinch at certain parts.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That was just as a kind of I also laughed when you called the hot dogs deadly. It's a little over dramatic.
Well, I mean, because I worked at a cinema, I saw what they were like, and I couldn't believe that people were buying them. They kind of arrived in these boxes off the back of a truck. There was sort of like 12 or 14 of them in a box. I can't remember how many. I think it was a strip of 4. They're all kind of stuck together like glue. We had to put them in these kind of water tank things and defrost them because they're all frozen. And then you kind of reheated them up, which didn't seem to me to be like an adequate process to cook meat safely, assuming there was any meat in them. And I remember the one time I had one. Yeah, I was doing the 2-step to the bathroom pretty quickly the next day. So to be
No.
avoided was kind
Okay,
of
so deadly just sound accurate, actually.
yeah. I think I think hot dogs got a bit upgraded in the 90s. I think better companies got involved, but in the 80s and 70s, they were just like they were proper last resort.
You're taking a risk.
You were you're putting your stomach in jeopardy.
And the next movie it was 1986 Top Gun. That was the next section I read. You said you saw this movie and what would become your favorite cinema. Why was the Empire Leicester
Square
your
Leicester
favorite?
Square. What was great about the Empire Cinema Leicester Square was it was the last cinema that I went to in Leicester Square, because Leicester Square is where all the premieres happen in London. There are 4 screens, one on each side, north, south, east, and west. They've changed somewhat, and a couple of the big ones have gone, and they've been divided. And sadly, is the case with Empire One, which is now an IMAX. It's still a very nice screen, but it's not what it was. And when I went in there, what I really liked about it was, unlike the other cinemas, they didn't have a balcony and a stalls. It was a massive seating rake. There was the stall section, and then there was the upper rake section, but it was still connected, so you could see everybody no matter where you sat. There wasn't a divider, so that made the atmosphere in there quite special. They also had a state-of-the-art sound system, and when I saw Top Gun there, it was the first time that I can remember a cinema floor reverberating underneath my feet as the jets like roared past from left to right. And Top Gun, again, ultimate popcorn movie. I saw it with my first girlfriend, very specific memory. Went out and bought the soundtrack, went out and bought aviators, went out and bought a silly jacket with lots of patches on to look like I was a fighter pilot. Don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, I mean, it's an amazing
cosplay.
Amazing cinema. If I show you this picture, I can pull it up right now.
Okay, as you're pulling up that picture, I want to read this from Canadian Spider-Man. London used to be my favorite city. As memory serves, it took almost 1.5 hours on the tube from London north through central Finchley. It's been a while. 2003. Mind the gap. Go NF, go UK.
Yeah, the tube's a bit faster now, I can report. So this image on the left, and if you want to see better quality images, just type in Old Empire Screen 1. So that lighting state that you see, and you can see pictures on the right of it in different coloured lighting, it had this cathode lighting that would gradually change as you were sitting there waiting for the movie to start. So it would go from like purple into kind of a red, and then the red would go to an orange, and then the orange would go to a yellow, and the yellow would go to a green, and the green would go to a blue, and so on. So just quite a unique experience. And then those red seats that you can see, they were like first class cabin sort of leather recliners. So the Empire Screen 1 was like luxury, way ahead of its time in the 1980s. Then they closed and refurbished, and then we can talk about that later. They had a laser show in there, which is, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other section.
Oh yeah, we will get to that. I did read that. Well, yeah, and actually that'll be the next section. But I have to admit, I've never been to movie theaters as beautiful as yours. The closest I've gotten to places like this are places that actually put on stage play performances. So these are really
I thought that the one I've been to several in the States, and the one I was particularly impressed with, which I think, thank God, Quentin Tarantino saved it, was the Drama Dome or the Rama Dome in Los Angeles. very big single screen.
Oh
Went
yeah,
to
we definitely do have great movie
Yeah,
theaters, but I just
and I
haven't
think it's
gone to
still
them.
going because I think he's personally got behind it, and good man as well.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad he did save it. Well, he has his own book like this. I have it here too. I haven't read it.
Actually, I've got it as well.
Oh yeah, actually, I have it right under my computer. Cinema Speculation by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's a fantastic book. It's much more. I actually refer to that book in my opening, and I say that this is not a book about specific film criticism. I'm going to leave that to the far more talented and literal people like Quentin Tarantino. See his book Cinema Speculation, which is a fantastic book. But that was a bit of an igniter for me. I thought, yeah, if I combined my 1988 book with these kind of memories, and then maybe a little bit of film analysis, I might have something that's quite unique. I don't think there's ever been a book like this. I've looked and I can't find one.
Yeah, this book is it's like a like your own personal journal, but it's still fascinating because of how it's shaped your life, and because you're actually creative too. It isn't just you watching these movies, it's how you've also made your own movies and your own plays. And the one thing we didn't talk about during when we talked about aliens was that you created the live action role-playing game.
Oh my god, yeah.
And that sounded like lots of fun.
There's a video that exists of that, and of course I do have a VHS recorder, but I don't have a TV that can take a VHS SCART cable anymore, because most of them don't come with them now. But yeah, we did. I ran the very first Aliens live action role playing game in the UK, and basically it was a cross between the Aliens movie and the Dark Horse comic, which came out shortly after, which was a better sequel than we ever got to Aliens. And so people got the opportunity to play Hicks and Bill Paxton's character, and the sergeant, and it was done with laser tag, and we had alien costumes, we had eggs, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was
that does sound like a blast. I didn't know you had it recorded somewhere. That might be the only way to see.
I've got the Aliens versus Predator game, which was the follow-up a couple of years later. And I've actually got a picture of that, I think, in the book. But I've got the actual image here, so I can show that to your team.
Please do.
Your team chat is listening in very patiently to my drolling voice. So this is the umpire team from that game. That's Richard Caller on the far right, John Todd on the far left, who's slightly bleached out. And there's me.
But you took it really seriously with the masks and everything.
Oh yeah, hilarious. we had sort of 4 really decent Predator costumes. The one on the far left was far more kind of homemade, but still, did the job. And then we had 4 alien costumes, which we made from resin, some sort of resin mold, some sort of secreted resin. Haha. That's me in the green jacket with the white baseball cap on, in the front row.
That is almost film theater dedication to a game.
This had a team of like about 40 players, and I had a whole storyline and stuff, and it was exhausting to run. I nearly had a mental breakdown from what I can remember. It was
but you put on
probably
a good
more
party.
fun to play than it was to run it. But it was, at the time, it was the closest I could get to like directing a movie without directing a movie. And I wanted to give the players the experience of what they saw in the film and get to relive it, but like make their own choices. So that was that, and again, it was done with like laser tag combat system, and you can't see it, but I think a lot of those guys have got sensors on them somewhere where they can get shot. So yeah. I mean, again, this all happened because of these movies. If I hadn't seen these movies, these things would not have happened. Therefore, that's art imitating life, so to speak, influencing life.
Booger's here. Hey, Booger. I've never played alien themed laser tag, but I used to play Star Trek themed paintball games. I'd love to try either of those.
Well, we did it. We ran a Star Trek game. We built a bridge out of from what I can remember, massive Butterkiss popcorn boxes that I nicked from the cinema. These huge boxes that they turned up in, like crate size, and we built the bridge of the Enterprise, and we had a video camera in another room. So when they went put him on screen, we had this big telly, and the aliens could talk to people on the bridge, and you could raise shields and all that kind of thing.
You did that too.
Yeah,
you did Star Trek: The Experience before.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, basically. Yeah, before it was a thing.
Oh my god, that sounds like a lot of fun. I want. Okay, I'll skip the alien one and do the Star Trek one instead. Let's go. But I also have to. When Booger arrives, we always play this video for him from WKRP. Booger. And so the next section of the book that I read was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989.
Right.
That's your 61st book. Movie.
So I don't know if you want to play any of it, but I have played that laser show on my channel, and I didn't get a copyright strike.
You didn't get a copyright strike?
No.
Then yeah, I'll play it. Then yeah. So you went while I'm trying to pull that up. You went to this movie with a lot of people. This was a huge party.
It was the story behind the visit to Indiana Jones and Last Crusade was Empire Screen 1 had closed a few months earlier. It was being refurbished, and it was going to open with Indy 3. Indy 3 was opening only at the Empire about 3 weeks ahead of its London release, and then I think it wasn't released nationally for about another 8 weeks. So that's one of the things that happened was they would test films out in central London, or central London would just get films early. The rest of the country would have to wait, which is fine with me because I just shot up to town. But this also coincided with my 2 years at film school ending, and I couldn't go to the college ball. I was working at the cinema, and I couldn't get the Friday night off, or somebody dropped out and I had to work or whatever. And it turned out that college ball was a really badly organized and was a proper damp squid. And I decided, well, I'm having a college ball of my own. We're all going up to see the opening night of Indiana Jones 3, and we're all going to wear tuxedos and ball gowns.
Fancy dresses.
Yeah, so 40 of us went, roughly. I still got all the tickets, roughly 40. I've got the tickets with people's names on as well. And
I love that you gave away these tickets, but you just have to dress really fancy to get this ticket.
No, I didn't know. People paid for them. From what I can remember, I think the tickets were like £6.
Okay.
No, people paid for them, but that was it. It was instead of
but you organized
paying for a ticket for the ball, you could come to this. And I organised a big dinner. I booked out a massive section of a restaurant. I did buy a load of drinks and stuff for people, but it was a great night. I mean, even more great because of what happened just before the film started, which none of us knew was going to happen, which was this laser show. Combined with sort of lights coming on and all of this. So, you're sitting in a cinema with 1,000 people roughly waiting to see the third Indiana Jones movie when suddenly green lightning starts like shooting down the sides of the walls of the cinema with rumbles of thunder coming from all around you, back, front, behind. And it's like, what's going on? And of course, because I organized this, everybody thought, no one ever forgot about that trip. That trip, like the first trip to see Die Hard in the UK, which I also organised. People always remembered it. This is have you got it? You got the laser show? Yeah, there you go. They did various different ones, I mean, play away. You should be all right with it, I think.
We'll find out.
You're only really seeing the front of the auditorium because, of course, you've got sort of 950 seats.
Let me know if you can hear it.
I'll tell you.
Should have sound now.
Yeah, you got the first.
Can you hear it?
Hold on, not yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe let me reshare it.
You might need to share it from a different, thingy. I'm always doing that. But it was really impressive. And again, keep in mind, this had never happened in a cinema before. None of us knew it was coming. The cinema was spanking new, brand new seats. Everything looked lovely. And we thought, okay, the movie's going to start now. And suddenly there's this massive clap of thunder. The whole thing goes pitch black, and there's this lightning shooting across the screen, and we're like, "What's going on? What's going on here? Is this part of the movie? What's happening?" They had this laser show for about the next 5 or 6 years, and it just made going to the cinema really unique. And I remember when I took my parents to see The Hunt for Red October, they did this thing with the lasers where they configured the conning tower of the submarine, and it kind of like came up and got bigger towards the screen. It was all kind of cool, you know. So yeah, that
Oh,
was
can you
part of
hear
the
it?
experience of that memory. Yeah, I could hear that fine.
Oh, okay, good.
That brings back, like, that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up when I hear that tune.
And you were saying that there were a lot of people you brought to this movie who had never been to a movie with THX sound. That's something that just existed my entire life.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't realize that's a new thing.
they weren't the first cinema to have THX. That was the Warner Brothers Leicester Square, and I saw Revolution was the first film they had playing in THX. But this was just a better auditorium for THX. It was just better. And so THX sound, laser show, new seats, you know, these kind of stars that lit up in the ceiling, you know, as the laser show came to its ending. I mean, all very, very impressive. And it just, you know, it made for that experience. It made it very unique. It's a very unique memory. People still talk about it now. And I only remembered it when I did the 1988 book. And some stuff.
Well, that's because you know how to throw a movie party. And apparently, yeah, it was an adventure just to get there, too.
Yeah, I mean, I cover that in the book, but it turned out to be the day of the British rail striking and, you know, whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And, oh, well, that definitely sounds amazing. They put on a great, it shows that particular theater had a care to want to make the experience, you know, just beyond just putting on competently playing the movie, that they wanted to make sure everybody who was there had something extra, something more. That's pretty neat of them to do that. I love the joke at the end of this section. Thank God they never made any more films in this franchise, meaning Indiana Jones. You're just tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote at the end of that. Yeah, that was my, because, you know, Indiana Jones, the 3 Indiana Jones films, it's not a perfect trilogy. I think Temple of Doom has some great strengths, but also has some great issues, particularly in one casting area, shall we say. But overall, it's still a decent film. So, you know, you've got 3 good, solid entries. The first entry is obviously the best, I think. Then the third, then the second. And yeah, I mean, I've got a 3-set DVD box set of those 3 films. I don't need any more.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you just happen to have the one with 4 of them, you can just, some people say you can use it as a coaster.
Well, indeed.
Watcher X says, is Cthulhu LARP possible, or is that art imitating life? I'm not sure if I'm a Cthulhu investigator or if reality makes skeptics of us all.
I got out of the live role playing a long time ago, and again, there's a lot of that time period I don't remember, but I know people have run Cthulhu live role playing games. Absolutely, I heard of people that have been on them and whatnot, and they're often like running like creepy old houses and things like this. So
yeah, it has to be scary.
They're a thing. They're a thing for sure.
Oh yeah, it sounds creepy, but I don't know. Then the next one is so I've known all of these movies that you listed for me so far, and Midnight Clear is the first one that I'd never even heard of.
You've got to watch that film.
does seem like you're focusing more on the experience and film critique, exactly as you say in your forward that I haven't read yet. And so this is this particular story is more about you meeting Keith Gordon straight after meeting Tarantino at the premiere of Reservoir Dogs. So that
Yeah.
sent me on a tangent because that's actually my favorite Tarantino movie. As much as I love the others, there's something just magical about it, and I want to see Reservoir Dogs as a stage play.
Oh, I've seen it as a stage play.
What? People
Yeah,
have done
it was first staged in Ireland with Tarantino's blessing, and the running order of it was they moved it around to make it work for theatre a little bit. And ever since that license was granted, there's been numerous productions of it in the UK, quite a few, especially around the kind of, I think, late 90s going into early 2000s. But it was kind of nuts. I met Tarantino, who everybody says I look like, thanks to my Kirk Douglas chin, and Keith Gordon, both on the same day. And no one knew who Tarantino was back then because Reservoir Dogs had its first European screening at the London Film Festival, whatever year that was, 92 or something like that. And and I didn't know who he was, but I watched the film and I thought the film was great. But I was so juiced from the screening before because Keith I got to talk to one-to-one for like 10 minutes, and he asked me to send him my script. I'd never had a director ask me to send them a script before. And he became a great friend and a mentor for a number of years, and actually was there when I was going through a particularly difficult time, if I remember rightly. So, and I didn't connect with him for about another 5 years. It was another 5 years before I said, "Hey, I'm making my first film." And then I met up with him in LA a couple of times. Yeah, really, really nice.
That was really great that you met him because he became such a big influence on you, and it sounds like he really helped you with your creative works.
I've had about six
that's
people
great that he gave
really.
you time.
Yeah, I mean, I've had about 6 people really go to bat for me in the film industry, and he's one of them. Jason Fleming and Craig Fairbrass are another 2. Donald Logue, American actor Donald Logue's another one. Probably wasn't enough Donald Logue stories in the. Oh well, no, and the band played on. Yeah, there's how Donald Logue's mentioned there. But yeah, Keith was the first. He was the first sort of mentor I had in the industry, really.
Yeah, and just like I don't know, you must have some really great charisma that gets you that kind of attention. This is so awesome. But I have to thank RRTNZ, RNTNZ,
Hello.
who says for the $2 New Zealand, is that a Who song? Won't get Cthulhu again. Oh, I'm probably saying.
Can't help you there.
Cthulhu. Won't get Cthulhu again. Oh no, I don't know either. No, I don't know. But this is one of the quotes in the book whenever you read the alien section. So this is the quote that you chose. I just happen to have it in my list of videos.
Game over, man. It's game over.
And so, but I also I want to thank you for the super chat.
Yes.
So let's see.
Send
Let me
more
say
super chats to
something.
Jill if you can.
My congratulations, Captain. Dazzling display of logic.
Yes, thank you for supporting my channel. Yeah, just as Wes Cagle says, also welcome to Wes Cagle. Isn't it a shame that there's not a single movie that gives justice to the Cthulhu mythology? Oh, I don't know. I mean, have they tried? I don't know if they tried. I guess I'll have to look into that. But I'll take your word for it. Canadian Spider-Man says, "Hey, Chad, if you're watching live or in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting the like button, and also subscribe to Lance's channel. We've also got Lance, the Outcast Creative here. I remember when I found your channels. Oh, this is really cool. So definitely
I think
check.
I came to you through Retro Nerd Girl.
Yeah, yes.
We must give her a shout out.
Yes, definitely. Retro Nerd Girl. I love her too. She's yeah, she's incredible to talk to, and we really
Yeah.
vibe a lot.
Oh man, such a nice person.
Very generous with their time. And
Well, she created a song for me. No one's ever
oh,
created a
she
song
did.
for me before.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah, definitely check out Retro Nerd Girl too. I really appreciate her. And Canadian Spider-Man says Aliens, a movie almost as good as Ghostbusters. Die Hard rounds out the top 3 of all time for Spidey. I don't know about that, Canadian Spider-Man. Those are the official top 3 movies of the Anti-Derivative Shell channel. Those aren't bad choices, but I might differ a bit. Curtis says, yeah, sorry I don't hang out here more often. I subbed, I promise, but YouTube literally never sends me notifications. No, you're okay, Curtis. We're happy anytime you can show up. And yeah, no, I know YouTube buries channels. It's not false. So even if you're subscribed, sometimes you don't get notifications and stuff like that. But you're here now, and that is what counts. And so right, you said you met him again you met Keith again, who helped you with your Kent State movie?
Yeah, I was researching what was a feature film about it. It was my kind of JFK movie, because I love the film JFK. I talk about it in the book, and I've always been a bit of a social activist. I don't lean any one particular direction politically. If somebody said, "Oh, if you're in the States, you'd be a Democrat or whatever," and I'm like, "Well, not necessarily, because I don't agree with this, this, and this." "Oh, so you'd be a Republican?" And I'm like, "No, because I don't agree with this, this, and this." So I'm. My kind of view on life is you have to explore each topic that you're going to argue about separately on its own merit. It's not as easy as standing on one side of the fence or the other. And one of those topics I was really interested in was the Vietnam War, which was still going on when I was born. And of course, we had films like Uncommon Valor, and great film actually, and Rambo, First Blood, and all these. But there was this made-for-television movie, Kent State, that Keith was actually in it. He played one of the people that was killed, about the protest that broke out on the campus. And, there was all these stories about outside agitators coming in and starting them and stuff like that. I don't want to get too political on the stream, but I researched the topic.
History at this point.
Yeah, I researched the topic extremely thoroughly, and the important thing was there was a court case that no one had ever talked about. It didn't receive much publicity, where the parents of the kids that had been injured and survived, and the parents of the 4 kids who had died, who were all students at the university, took the governor of Ohio and the general in charge of the National Guard to court for breach of civil rights, and there was a fantastic book written about it by the lawyer Joe Kellner and his son, who handled the plaintiff's case. And I was just like, when I read that book, I was like, this is a movie waiting to happen. And so I'd always wanted to write a great court case thriller, and I'd always wanted to work with Gene Hackman. He was like my number one favorite actor of all time, still is. And so I sort of set about, I contacted Joseph Kellner, who was still alive at the time, and said, look, I want to write a script about your, sort of loosely based on your book. I haven't got any money or anything, but I'd like to give it a crack, and I'd like to then give you a copy of the script and sort of see if it gets your blessing. And if it does, then I'd like to try and take it round. And that's how it started. And then Keith was the first person to read it, and he gave me copious notes about it. And it was one of the first good scripts I wrote, but it needed loads of work, and he was very helpful. And ultimately that became one of the first things on my YouTube channel that was kind of performed live during lockdown as a mini series. You can see it. It's on the channel. It's all 5 parts of it. It's got titles. All the actors are in costume. I'm in it playing an American soldier doing a really bad American accent. Fun times for those people watching. But that was what the channel was originally. It was for a place for the actors from the creative to do something during lockdown. And what the thing we decided to do was, you know, let's do 13.
Yeah, absolutely.
I rewrote it, especially for a live stream. So I changed it radically.
Oh, okay, cool. Like, right, okay. So it was a film, but you remade it so it could be
yeah, I mean,
a play kind of like a play.
Would you like to
live on
would
air?
you like to see a bit of it so you can see what I'm talking about? Because it's quite hard to
Yeah,
visualize.
it sounds like a lot. Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting way to
do you know
express
what?
a movie.
It was a ton of work, and we rehearsed it. You know, most of the actors that were in this thing had never met. They'd never been in the same space together. You know, and
Yeah, I have a co-host who wants to do something like this, but I'm like, no, we can't read somebody else's movie on my channel. That's copyright infringement. But this is your movie, so
no.
you get to do what you want.
If it gets flagged up, I won't. So don't worry about that. You absolutely can. It's my. I own the copyright to this. So this is the first episode. There are 5 of these episodes. They're all. I think each episode's like around 60 minutes. There's a big long opening title sequence. This is Joseph Kellner, played by Michael Littman on the right, and Bob Kellner, his son. And when they're first talking about the case.
Well, I wanted to ask your thoughts on the shootings at Kent State University last month.
Well, it made me sure glad I no longer go to college. Why do you ask?
Well, I met one of the victims' mothers today. You know, Elaine Holstein, formerly Elaine Miller, a mother to that kid whose dead picture's been flashing all over the news.
The one with the girl screaming over the body.
The same. She's asked me to represent her in a civil case against the governor and National Guard of Ohio.
Are you going to take the case?
Well, don't you think I should?
I think you'd be going up against a lot more than just the state of Ohio.
Well, what's your basic?
So I mean that gives you an idea.
That seems really cool.
I'll find you a different bit. But what was so amazing was we did all that on Zoom. Okay, don't forget, this is performed live, so these actors can't make a mistake. They are live on YouTube. I'll just find you another bit. I'll tell you when I've got it. Let me scroll through a sec. And you know, so they can't cock up. It's like being on stage, except that we're broadcasting ourselves across the internet. You know,
it's a film, a play.
Yeah. It's like a radio play, except you can see the actors. We got matching backgrounds for everybody that could get their cameras to work like that. All the actors are in costume. We had about half Native American cast. Some of them were Canadian. And then we had a whole load of the people from my acting class in London. And, you know, I mean, every role in the thing was American. You know, and I always remember people poke fun at the accents. And I'm like, okay, you tell me which people are American and which people are British. And they couldn't get them right.
Wait, we don't have sound on this one.
Oh, we don't? Oh, hang on. I might have shared it from the wrong doodah. Hold on. Let me close it. Close it a second. I'll do it again. Stop that. Share screen.
And I was also wondering, I need a few minutes to take care of my daughter. If I could step away for a bit after.
Oh, shall I play a bit of this then?
Yeah. Play.
I can talk through it. Well, okay.
I will return as quickly as I can.
Okay, so if people want to watch this, it is on my channel. If you type in 13 seconds in Kent State, and you'll see they're listed parts 1 through 5. There's also a playlist for them, I think, on my channel. And each episode is about one of the 4 kids that were killed. So the first 4 episodes, the first episode about Jeff Miller, it's very much told from his point of view. He's one of the main characters.
And the deposition that Mr. Gallant made here.
And it's the beginnings of the...
You'll find he told the FBI that he saw no danger on the hill, no reason for the guardsmen to shoot.
Fantastic actress.
And you'll also see that he fudged this in his deposition.
So this is the first meeting of the legal team. So of course, these 5 actors are all in their own houses. But as you can see, with 4 of them, we've got kind of matching sets. And for some reason, Johnny couldn't do a green screen. I can't remember why on the top left. Fantastic actor, Johnny. And... you know, and this is all taken from transcripts or actual anecdotes that have been told in the book. So I was able to get these conversations as accurate as I could. And I mean, I would love to make this as a miniseries. This is the actor who played Jeff
See
Miller.
more coffee beans in Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
He's talking about how, yeah, you know, it was kind of cool to do some protests and stuff, but it's just what we did, you know, because we were kids. They would get shot, you know.
And like my mother said,
so
these were the people who were going to give us.
And these actors had massive speeches. They had to learn them. They had to get off book. All the rehearsals were done online, so there was no like rehearsals with any actors in the same space. This was all actors talking to each other on Zoom, and we would do run throughs. So kind of nuts when you think about it. We pushed Zoom to the absolute limit. I did about 5
dead young American children
in lockdown. This was the second one, actually. This was the really big one. And then this is so if you look at this is the meeting when they first meet with all the plaintiffs in one room. Okay. And you know, and you've got lots of families there all competing for attention. This is my friend Brad, who is actually American, playing the priest that's supporting them. And you see the number of actors that we've got in this scene. It's nuts. Imagine trying to get all those sound cues correct when you're live performing on Zoom, streaming it through YouTube.
And bringing the word of the good Lord to this.
So you'll see how many people.
Well, with us taking on the good state of Ohio, Reverend, I will take all the help I can get.
Excellent. And the good Lord never says to a dog with sprinkles.
I should hope not. I always like to think that my donuts were blessed by the Lord.
Indeed, Mrs. Kellner.
Okay, right. Well, now we have. I'm Joseph Kellner, but you can call me Joe when we're not in court at any rate. This is my son, Robert.
There you go.
And if you really must, you can call me Bob.
So look at all the people that are on screen now. That's an insane number of actors to be performing a scene at the same time. And they've all got their character names up. And Alan Canfora, who is played by Ed with the red scarf on here. Alan Canfora and I had spoken, and he was one of my major resources for the scripts outside of Joseph Kellner's book. Because he spent his whole life kind of cataloguing everything that happened at Kent State, photographs, interviews, memorials, all this kind of stuff. Incredible man. And I wrote to him in November of 2020 and said, you know, we're going to do this live stream. You remember I tried to get the film made and the film didn't happen. And I'd really like your blessing, Alan. And he said, well, you have it, but I probably won't live to see it because I've got cancer and I've got weeks to live. And I was like, shit, man. And then we literally the next day we were doing the first rehearsal for this. And again, it's life imitating art. I have all the actors on the call. There's about 40 of them, 38 of them, something like that. And I said, right, so I've got some news about Alan Canfora, guys. And, you know, he's dying. And after that, it was no longer kind of, I mean, it was always a serious topic, but it was no longer just this thing we were doing. Now it really had meaning because they felt like they were performing the story of his legacy, essentially. So, of course, all the actors, you know, then we did a read through and everybody just ups their game and emotion was on point and yeah, it was good. And of course, if we had technical issues when we were live streaming this, when we were performing this, there was nothing we could do about it because we were live. So we had some scenes where we had issues with people connecting and actors had to improvise and stuff like that. This is Stephen, who actually was an extra in Bridge Too Far. Incidentally, he did the crossing on the Nijmegen River Wall scene with Robert Redford.
No, but this is America, not the Soviet Union.
There you go. Exactly. So, yeah, but you guys might find that interesting if you want to watch it. I feel like I'm filling in for Jill. Yeah, just interrupt me, Jill.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me that time. And I think it was.
This is what I thought to show this, wasn't it? Because that was the perfect anecdote to give you a chance to tend to your family's needs.
Yes, and that's why it was good that we set this for an extra time, so I had time to make them breakfast and everything.
What I'll do is I'll put the link for that first episode in the private chat, so you can post it. Somebody may have posted it already.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll post that. Yes.
if you're
I'll post-
interested in that period of history, I mean, even though,
Do you
it's
have
an
it-
online thing, it's one of my proudest pieces of work, that 13 Seconds in Kent State.
Do you have it organized in a playlist on your channel?
Yeah. It's the live, something like live lockdown read-throughs or something it's called. Because
What's the full name of the movie?
we didn't just do that. We did like 6 productions altogether. Had a whole company of people all over the world taking part. It was
Nice.
crazy. Yeah.
That's amazing. What's the full name of the movie?
13 Seconds in Kent State.
13 seconds.
And I actually have a great.
And I'm sorry you never got to actually make a movie for it, but the fact that you got this YouTube radio play going, that's awesome.
Well, you know, one of the funny things is that the mini series of it that of course I completely rewrote the script again for about the 10th time, and that version is a far superior, because I was such a much more experienced writer by the time we were in lockdown. Kent State originally was like my third feature film I'd written or something like that. So, I just, of course, I had to completely reimagine it for a live screen performance on YouTube. So that also changed the content of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a really, really good script. It's really powerful. The actors did a fine job when you consider they couldn't rehearse in the same space. They were, some of them were filming their scenes in broom cupboards and things like this. So you couldn't hear their children screaming in the background. Or whatever,
right. That would be the kind of problem I would have.
Yeah, I mean, but it was a fantastic experience, and many of them hadn't met, and they didn't meet until after the lockdown was lifted, and some of us have still never met. And I created this because film posters in the UK are 30 by 40 inches in size, whereas you guys in your cinemas, they're all portrait. And so what I did was, for the cast, I created this limited edition UK cinema poster for the show. I've just shared it with you there. And it's kind of got that sort of disaster movie vibe where you have the shots of all the characters on the right. And I just thought this was a great way of honoring the work of these fine actors that gave up loads of their time to do this production, because we rehearsed it for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and there was a live rehearsal right before the actual performance, and straight through, and it was we really did something quite amazing. That it's kind of nuts, really. What we did.
How special is that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. You missed the bit where they were passing the donut. So one person offers a person a donut in a scene, and the other person picks up the donut from their telly and takes it. So we did a few gags in it like that as well to, keep
fun.
people
And also, there must have been some. You said there was improvising, because sometimes people would drop in and out, and so was there some ad-libbing?
We had one scene. I can't remember if it was in this production or another production. It might have been a different one, because we did 6 productions. But we had one scene where one character dropped out completely. In fact, that was Persecution, which was also a true story about a man who was wrongly accused for murder, destroyed his whole life in the UK, and the police got it wrong, and the real killer went free and he killed somebody else. And in that, I had a pretty decent role in that one. I had like a walk-on cameo in this one, and one of the actors in our scene, his connection went. So me and the other actor, suddenly, it's like, oh shit, he's gone. So we were like, so, it's a bit like that bit in Trains, Plays and Automobiles. See the game last night? Great game. We did something like that. I can't remember what it was. And and then, next thing we knew, the guy was back, and it was like, oh good, let's get back on script. So yeah, but everybody was.
Oh, that is pretty smart. Just to throw in a little small talk. That was clever.
Yeah.
I haven't,
very talented
since I was away. Thank you so much for filling in for me while I was away from where I had to take care of my daughter. Well, while you were gone, I was gone rather. Has joined us, and can you explain what's what this
I don't know what this comment means, but if they're referring to my avatar, if they're referring to my avatar, the avatar is Atlantis from the film The Spy Who Loved Me, which is in my book, and it's the first Bond film I saw in the cinema. So yeah, and that model was designed by Derek Meddings, who also did all the models for the original Thunderbirds television series. So he did all the miniature effects work for The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And where she also says, where's Amandla Stenberg? She has a great range, all the way from sad, sadder, and even melancholy. She can speak lines when written down for her, and best of all, she's free since Acolyte 2 was canceled.
Well, I'm going to say something about that. So she does get a mention in the book, rightly so, because the first time I took my ex-partner to the Odeon Leicester Square, which is now probably the biggest capacity cinema in Leicester Square, lots of premieres there, and we went to see the first Hunger Games film, and it was nice. We went. The film had already been on for a few weeks, and I didn't really know what it was about. I hadn't read the books, but people were saying it was good, and I should go and see it. And Alison had not long arrived in the UK, and I was like, okay, we're going to go to the Odeon Leicester Square, a great cinema for one of her first UK. I think it might have been the first UK cinema experience. And there wasn't many people there because it was in the afternoon and it had been on a while. And we both said to each other, because that's Amanda Stenberg's breakout role, we both said to each other when we came out, that actress was amazing. She didn't have to say anything, and you couldn't take your eyes off her. Playing Rue. She's, who is she? I'd never heard of her before, and I could tell she was exceptionally gifted. I think focus on your craft, focus on getting good scripts. I still think she's a good actress. I'm not going to comment about The Acolyte. I've done streams about that, and I don't think we should waste time talking about it.
Well, no, I know, but I actually particularly like The Hunger Games. I think the first book is the best out of all three in the first movie. So if that's all you saw, that's all you need to see. And yes, Rue is definitely a favorite character, and that always breaks my heart the way they her death scene.
Yeah, I mean that scene is I cried, and the piece of music that goes with it as well. That music, just every time gets me every time.
Does the movie have the flowers? It does cover her with flowers, right?
Yeah.
Very, very meaningful. And I'm glad that you had that she had that first experience there at UK theater. I feel like I need to go see a movie at a UK theater now.
We do still have some good ones. I mean, the Odeon Leicester Square is still there. It hasn't got the best sound system though in London. Empire IMAX is the best one, which is half of the old Screen one, which is very good. But
I also want to make oh, I'm sorry. I also want to make sure I say hello to Suzanne.
Hello, Suzanne.
Has arrived, as well as Kimberly Ann Hart. The Pink Ranger is also here.
Kimberly. I think I know Kimberly. I think.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that Amanda is still acting because a lot of child actors don't continue. So that's always good to see that.
Yeah, well, I think she's got good performances in her to come. I just think an actor is only as good as the script they've been served with.
Yes.
If a script is bad, really bad, you're gonna struggle to elevate material. And she's not an experienced actress yet. She's not a seasoned actor yet. She's still very young in her career. I'm not saying she's green. She's done some things, but she still is on her journey. She's you don't get exceptionally good in your craft until, I don't know, you got to be in your 30s really. For some people it comes very naturally to them very quickly. But I talk about my favorite actors actually growing up in the book quite a bit. There's a list of them at the back and all kinds of things.
Oh, neat. Oh, yes. Okay. And I will check that out as soon as I can. I want to move on to the next section, which is heat. And when I was a
Oh,
kid
yeah.
and I saw The Godfather for the first time, I found out I really liked Al Pacino. So I started watching more movies with him in it. And this was one of them. And this section also says that your birthday is in January. So that's fun because we're almost in January.
Well, my little birthday is in January. My big birthday is in July.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm
So
like,
you get 2 birthdays.
yeah, I'm like
Oh,
the Queen.
right.
I've
Okay.
got
Yes, I
2
remember.
birthdays. There's a
You
section in the
deserve
book that
them.
explains this, but I won't give it away. I'll let people discover that for themselves.
Yes, very well. Very good. Yeah. So, yeah, we got to leave a little mystery so people go buy this Silver Screen Journey, now available on Amazon. And I've got the link pinned to the chat, and I can post it again in the chat. There's the books. You can get the Kindle version or the hardback or the paperback. And how the heck can one have 2 birthdays?
I'm adopted. I've got a birth
Yes.
date and I've got a day I was adopted. That's the
Yes,
short
and that makes
form.
sense. That's a good answer. Creating a song diss track to attack fans was silly of her, though. What? Who did that? I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah. Well, look, I'm not going to talk about an actor's personal politics. I don't care about that stuff. I only care, are they good?
Yeah, fair
And the
enough.
thing that I'm watching them in is the thing I'm watching them in good. I don't care who they vote for. I don't care about their gender pronouns, all of that. I don't care what their views are on animal rights or so on. It's great that they have these views, and if they want to use their voice as a microphone, go ahead. But I'm interested in them as an actor first and foremost, and that's always what I want to know, what they're doing. What's the project? You know, what's their role? Should I go and see this thing?
Yes, I like that philosophy. I like to do that too, is because I do want to put the art above the personal lives of the actors, and that makes sense to do it that way. Because
Yeah, I'm never one
otherwise
of these people
you
that
wouldn't watch
read.
anything if you
No,
judged
you
everybody.
wouldn't. And you know, I also don't think Hollywood should operate in this way. I don't think people should be pushed out or not employed because they vote for this person or that person. I mean, the way Gina Carano was treated was absolutely appalling, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, agreed.
Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with what she may have posted or not posted, and I have researched it thoroughly because I've thought about writing a book on it many times. The point is, she was fired over Twitter, and that was how she found out. She found out in a public forum on social media before they actually told her. Totally unacceptable.
Extremely unprofessional.
Yeah, that would not be acceptable in any other industry to treat an employee that way. Why is it acceptable in the film industry? And that's complete nonsense. It's just people throwing their weight about and using their internal political whatevers to punish people they don't like. And I was very, very, very against that, and really felt for her. And I was credit the first person I ever followed on YouTube was I've said this many times, was Drunk 3PO. Everyone thinks it was Drinker. He was the second, but the first person I followed was Drunk 3PO because of the work he was doing on cataloging the story in detail and everything that had happened.
It was extremely unfortunate that something as just mundane as a Twitter post is going to cause a Twitter firing. What is going on where this is the medium where we're conducting business? It's strange.
It's just not how you should behave. I mean, you just don't treat employees that way, and I just think the whole thing was blown out of proportion. Was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and does bring up a good point that it's important for the actors to be professional too and watch what they're saying and things.
I mean, you can outside of work, you can say what you want, but you've got to remember you're a person who carries a public image, and if you are going to start, I hate this fan gaslighting thing that's going on. Oh, this show's failed because these people are racist. That's why they didn't watch it.
Right. Yeah, people critiquing things on
it was racist. They didn't watch it because it was rubbish. It's very simple, And I hate
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that.
I know. What is the deal with these big film companies blaming people talking on the internet who might have a few thousand subscribers and saying this film failed because of the toxic fandom? It's just bogus to me. It just seems really bogus to me. Just a cover up and redirecting the blame of their performance or production onto the fans. That's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean it's and I think obviously the backlash has been in most people go to the cinema or flick a film on Netflix. It's very simple. They want to be entertained in whatever their personal genre happens to be, and long gone thankfully are the days when nerds were just bearded men that maybe had a few too many beers and probably weren't big health freaks. Those days are over. What's great about things like the Comic-Cons and all of that is it's a very inclusive, very diverse group of people that now support certain international IPs, and fans come from all over, different walks of life. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be happy with a bad script that doesn't make any sense, that's just poorly written and poorly directed. That's you can't serve up these people that crap. They don't want to see it. So at the minute Doctor Who's not doing very well in the UK, and I like Nakuti
Sorry about
as
that.
as an actor. I like him. I think he's a great actor, and he was kind of an interesting choice. And I thought, okay, this could be the next Matt Smith, because I was shocked when Matt Smith got the part, and I thought he's going to be terrible, but he absolutely won me over. He was great. I just think he's not been saddled with the best scripts and tone for the show, things like that. So anyway, we're getting a bit off topic. So
yeah, no, that's okay. No, it's kind of it is on topic though. But Booger says because nobody can envision that their pet project just wasn't that interesting to the public, so it must be somebody else who caused it to fail. And yeah, so the redirecting of blame to the public is just not something that appeals to me in particular. But one of the most interesting things about the hate section of your book is that you started it off by started the story by having a friend tell the story instead of you, and this friend was
oh my
friend
God,
to you.
Lucy Jane Jacobs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful story, and I wasn't expecting the tragic turn at the end of that section.
Well,
So
there's four. Unfortunately, my life has been, for better or worse, impacted by a number of very sort of significant loss of key figures in my life. The first of whom is Jamie Ollett, who I talk about in the book at some length, and there's a picture of Jamie in the book. And yeah, his loss really affected me terribly. Lucy's was the next big one. She unfortunately passed away in a car crash, and that was the first time I'd ever gone to see. I'd gone to view the deceased body of a young friend as well. We each got to spend like a couple of minutes in the room with her, and I was halfway through shooting my first feature film at the time, which she worked on, and things weren't going very well. And I'll never forget, I was in that room sitting with her, and I held her hand and I said, I promise you I will finish this movie no matter what, and I will dedicate it to you when I finish it. And I did. And I renamed, I didn't rename her, one of the characters was already named after her, but sort of reorientated that character a little bit. And it's annoying that you can't see this movie because it was shot on SVHS. So it's not a digital format that easily transfers in today's technologies. I do still have a VHS copy of it. I've got a DVD copy of it that doesn't play on any device whatsoever. So I don't know, the signal transfer obviously wasn't very good. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I always remember about the difference between that and Jamie was when Jamie died, we had all just finished college and we all kind of went our separate ways, and there wasn't a kind of let's all go down the pub and exchange stories about what a great guy he was. There was no grief counselors offered. We all had to deal with it on our own. It was awful. It really affected me. And it wasn't until 5 years later, and I looked back, and I could see some of the decisions I made. I realized, Christ, that's what was going on. But with Lucy, I kind of knew what I had to do. It was like, right, we've got to get all the friends together. We've got to go down the pub. I was very close to her sister, Helen Jacobs, so I'm trying to trace at the moment, actually, and haven't had a lot of luck because her name's very common. But we kind of did that thing. We told the great stories about her.
And it gives you inspiration.
Yeah, and it was, so you were able to process it, and you were able to, you had mutual support there. Each of us had a cry at different times, and it was very moving, being part of that experience. And again, actually, this all happened in the time where much of my memory of that time has gone completely. But that memory, that specific memory, going to see her body, the funeral, being at her parents' house, they laid on this massive spread like it was someone's wedding. It was her mother. I remember her mother's speech. I mean, So there are things like that, well, if they were forgotten, they came back to me. So that's right. So I organised. I was living outside of London at the time, and I'd heard Heat was going to be good, and I remembered Michael Mann had created Miami Vice, and I thought, well, this could be a good birthday movie. So we hired a minibus, and 14 of us all went from the Midlands, and we came down to London, and we did Heat, and we did Alien War, which was the interactive, immersive aliens experience that was in London Trocadero at the time. You get chased around a base by loads of aliens, escorted by Marines. Great fun. And I still got my ticket for that, by the way.
Wait, actual Marines?
Yeah, well, actors.
Oh, pretend Marines.
Actors dressed as colonial Marines.
It's the role playing. Yeah. That's right. Okay, I'm coming back to it. It wasn't real Marines. It was laser tag.
A bit like the games I ran, except this one was actually an event in a central London, and it was like a proper built set, and it looked really good. And I became friends with a lot of the people that work there, a couple of whom I'm still in touch with. But yeah, it was that was a great birthday. I'd completely forgotten about that birthday, and I found that letter. I had to paraphrase it a little bit, and some of it I had trouble reading because of her handwriting. But yeah, so I found that letter, and I was just like, I hung on to that, and then
and then the movie you made was basically a memorial to her, also.
Yeah, the film was really about James and her. My first film. All three of my films have dealt with loss. All three of my feature films, and the first one dealt with the two of them. Primarily Jamie, as character based on him and so on in the film, and loosely based on how we met and stuff like that.
So yeah. So the next section is a Castaway, and I never loved a movie with so little dialogue, I guess, until Wall-E or something. As much
Wilson!
as I enjoyed
Wilson!
Yes, yes. What kind of movie makes you almost care so much about volleyball with a strange face on it? Wilson is a character in the movie. He's real. He was real to Chuck.
It's funny because I remember during that scene, some people bought into that and kind of got it, and then there were other people in the cinema that were laughing and come on, But
okay, sometimes I was laughing, but oh no, I was crying when we were on the raft and the volleyball got away. That hurt. That really did hurt.
My story about that is all about the actress Laurie White, who was a pretty well-known country and western singer, who appears in the final scene of Castaway, and that's one of my favorite endings of a movie ever. Definitely in my top 5 movie endings. And I wanted to go to that place when I was in Texas a couple of years ago. I wanted to go to that crossroads, that metaphorical crossroads. And we looked it up on the map, and my Texan friend was like, "Lance, that's 5 hours from here, buddy. We're not going there." So I was like, "Okay, too far. Fair enough. 5 hours there, 5 hours back. So just go crossroads. Are you kidding?" It was like, so that wasn't happening.
Too bad.
But I never forgot Laurie's performance. She had like 2 lines of dialogue, naturally gifted, all American sort of country cowboy girl, this sort of very natural beauty, good looks, quite a beautiful woman. And
this is Larry White.
Laurie White, and lauriewhite.com.
Laurie.
Check
Sorry.
out her music. I don't know if it's pronounced Laurie or Laurie. I'm not sure. But her husband, Chuck Cannon, is also a country and western singer. He had agreed to come on my channel for an interview, but I haven't been able to pin him down. So maybe he's thinking it might be a bit too emotional for him, which, if so, fair enough. Because anyway, I based one of my characters on that character from Castaway in my first book, Diamonds in the Sky. The first character you meet is that character from Castaway, except I've called her a different name. And I wanted Laurie White to play her in the TV series. This book was written to be a TV series. It's another one of the things we did loads of read-throughs of in lockdown. And I wanted her on the cover of the book. So I got my casting director to contact her, and we didn't get a reply. And I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. Would have thought we would have got a reply, because we went through her official website. We didn't know she was, in the last few months of her life, she was battling terminal cancer at the time. And when I found that out, I was, it was so weird. I felt like I knew her, but I'd never spoken to her. But I did speak to her husband, and we had a long exchange of emails. And I dedicated my second book to her. I wrote a big section about that story. And it's also a section in the book, Screen Journeys, and it links to the film Castaway. So none of those things would have happened if it hadn't been for me seeing her in that role. Castaway, yeah.
And that influenced your book, Diamonds in the Sky, and so it's a novel that was meant to be a movie with her as the star.
TV series.
TV series. Excuse me.
Each season is a book, a bit like Game of Thrones, and a bit like George R.R. Martin. I'm very behind on book 3, which I was due to start writing.
Oh, it's a series.
Yeah, it's a series of books. First 2 books are out. The Children of Babylon.
Do you know how many you're gonna write?
I'm determined to finish it, and I've got a choice at the minute whether to make it a trilogy of books and shoehorn the ending. Originally, there was going to be about 6, and I feel like I'm cheating people if I shoehorn it, because it's a very similar style to Game of Thrones book. Each chapter is a different character's narrative.
Like that style.
Yeah, it's just more interesting, isn't it?
I just don't like that he's announced. Well, I mean, we've known it for years that he was never going to finish it, but now he's finally being honest with people and saying, "No, I'm not doing that."
Oh, he said he's not going to finish it.
I think so. I need to look into it myself, but it seems basically that's more or less the gist of it.
If that's true, why don't you do what the guy did with the Wheel of Time series? I think it's Robert A. Sanderson. I'm thinking of. He got terminal cancer. He hadn't finished the sits. He hadn't finished the books, and he was in touch with some big fan who knew everything, and was also a writer and was also writing his own books and stuff. And he basically said to this guy, "Look, do you want to help me finish these? I'm going to give you loads of notes, and you're going to finish these books for me." And that's what he did. I don't understand why George doesn't do the same thing. If he hasn't got time,
I don't know.
It's so disrespectful to all the people.
I think he just lost interest and he just doesn't want to do it. And it is disrespectful to everybody who was interested in it, who wanted to see it, who watched the TV show or were vastly underwhelmed by the ending that was cobbled together by a pair of producers who decided that they wanted to run off and make a Star Wars movie that they never.
Which they didn't even do. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
so
a
one
shame.
a huge travesty. So much wrong with those final 4 episodes.
You would think he'd care about this like it was his baby or something and want to give it the right send off, but no, he doesn't really seem to. He doesn't care anymore.
I think
And
he
so
got
why should
so
we?
many dollars in his bank account that it's all good.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does have plenty of money and his life-size Robbie the robot to comfort him.
Let's
want to
let's move on.
yeah. I want to say hello to Fleet Admiral Levi. Howdy, folks. Jill, Lance, just popping in for a second. Looking forward to reading the book. Silver Screen Journeys. Yes, this is a good moment to get back to what we're supposed to be talking about.
Good to see you, Admiral. My ship is manned and ready, waiting for orders, sir.
Yeah. So yes, Fleet Admiral Levi. If you're wanting to check out this book here, the links to the USA and UK Amazon links to buy the book in Kindle, paperback, or hardback. I got hardback and Kindle. So
the
far.
hardback version is really nice. I do like it.
I was thinking of getting a paperback to get one without the typos.
Yeah. So again, apologies. I mean, there's a reason why that happened, and it was I wanted to give out some books as Christmas presents. The only way I was going to get them in time was if I made the book go live.
You wrote this book in record time, honestly.
Yeah,
so that's part of it too.
I mean, I wanted it with Christmas deadline. I started it in end of the summer, sometime July or something like that. And then I sort of started lagging at one point. Things were going on in life, and I lost my muse when I lost my partner. So, or when I separated from my partner. So, every writer needs a good muse, and there's a dedication to somebody at the back. I only name them by their initial, and they were someone I met clubbing. And you know how it is. Sometimes you just see somebody, and you're like, your heart leaps out your tummy. They kind of had that thunderbolt moment on me, and I was like, right, I'm going to make sure this book is good, because then she's going to be the muse. I'm going to name at the back, and that's what I did. So I had a fire in my belly.
Good. That's good to know.
Yeah. So.
I mean, yeah. Keith, he asks, so what 2 books is Lance writing in 2025? Knowing the answer myself. Oh, you're writing more books.
I am. So for anybody who's read my blog, people will know that I got diagnosed with severe PTSD at the end of 2022. I won't go into what happened and why, because that's a proper downer, but you can read about it on my blog. And and my way of sort of beginning to heal with that was actually I used to dance a lot when I was younger, and I sort of embraced dancing again, basically. And
good.
I started going to this 80s club night first of all, which was great fun, dancing around to Aha and Rhythm of the Night and all this kind of stuff. And then this other friend of mine had joined this Facebook group, which was more sort of rave dance music, which actually was right on my scene, because I used to dance in a club on the podium for the club in 1992 or something, for about a year. And I was like, oh yeah, great, I can sort of like start doing my old dance routines and stuff. So now I go to an event like that almost every week. I've been to about 34 this year, something like that. And every time I go, I dance for 8 hours. It's a bit like going to the gym for me. It's done me a load of good mentally and physically. Tummy's kind of disappearing, stuff like that. So so my book, my next book is called Back to Raving at 50. And it's really
cool.
It's really a journal of those 34 events and the key figures that have made that journey so wonderful. In fact, I'm going to mention a few people, if I may, by name, that are definitely.
Me? Yeah, it does seem like the dancing is as important to you as the film going was too.
Oh, I mean, it's taken over actually, because I've only been to the cinema this year twice in 2024, which for me is nuts when you read the book and you see how often I used to go to cinema right up until, the summer of 2017. I was going almost every other week at least. But I kind of, the joy of the cinema experience for me is not what it was. And there's various things involved in that. Some of it is the changes that have occurred, and some of it is, I don't like going to the cinema on my own. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. And
yeah, you want to share it with someone. That's very big in your book.
It was very much that experience of seeing a film with somebody. I talk about that in the book at length, and creating those memories together and coming out of the film and talking about it. And that was always something like really special. And then, that had kind of gone for me when me and my partner broke up. That was removed from my life. So I didn't enjoy. I went on my own a few times, and it wasn't working for me. It wasn't taking me out of my life for 2 hours. It was reminding me of what I was missing, which wasn't the idea. So I stopped going. The last film I saw was Kevin Costner's Horizon Part 1. Hurry up and release Part 2, please. I would like to see it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I heard people. There were some people who liked that. Yeah,
I did like it. I liked it. I mean, they did themselves a disservice with what they gave people in Part 1. It was structured all wrong, but what I got was good though. But
so I guess that answers your question. That he has not seen Nosferatu.
No,
just came out this Christmas.
I haven't seen it yet. I wouldn't go to see that on my own. I'd want to go and see it with people. But yeah, so back to raving at 50, and there's, when you're older in life, it's quite hard to make new friends, because people tend to congregate around what they know, people they know for a while, they feel safe with, this kind of thing. As a 50-year-old man, you can't walk into a pub in London and start talking to groups of random strangers. People think you're weird. You just can't do that anymore. You probably could back in the 40s and 50s, but you can't do that now. So what the dancing thing gave me was there was a whole load of people that were sort of all feeling a bit lost, that all met through this Facebook group, and we all go out clubbing together. And at any event that I go to, there'll be like 30 or 40 of them there, and some of them have become friends outside of that. These are people that I've had around my house for dinner. A whole load of them came to the movie quiz that I do every year this year. So and to mention a few of them individually, Michelle and Ben, Avocado and Potato as I call them, Phoebe, who's a proper character. I mean, I could roll off like 200 names of people I've met on this scene, of which I could honestly say probably 30 of them I consider good friends of mine now. Who makes that number of kind of friends at this age? It's almost impossible to do that. Yeah, I have.
It's wonderful you did.
I can't even begin to tell you what a massive lifesaver this has been. Before this, all I had was YouTube, and YouTube is great. Meeting you guys and stuff was fantastic for me, and obviously I did meet some of those people in real life, but it's still a remote connection. It's a connection. It's a human connection, but it's remote. It's not
right.
Not
and I appreciate it. But it is a 2D connection, and the 3D connections are a little more.
I've always been a people person. I've always been someone who values friendship very highly, and what it means. And now I don't have any family left. Of course, my friends to me are extremely important. So. This has just given me a whole new social circle. It's a whole new hobby. Great, great for me physically, great for me mentally. And also I'm interviewing people from that music scene, and they're coming on my channel and doing interviews. So that's given me another branch of creative people that I have access to talk to about their careers and hear their stories. So the book's going to be full of all these wonderful characters. I'm sort of debating to what degree I can probably use real names. I might just have a fictional cast list and everyone's got a different name. But yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky. I've met some incredible people in the last 12 months, just fantastic people.
That's really good. But speaking of friendship, this is I love Lord of the Rings so much. It is a story about friendship among many other themes that it has within it. But basically, I am almost basically dedicating 2025 to it. I have some plans for it in terms of reading the books and stuff, and then reviewing it in December. But Lord of the Rings is second only to Star Trek for me. It's being a big influence on my philosophy on how I handle life. And I'm heartened to hear that it did even more for you in saving. You even say it saves your life. So I'm glad you're here to talk about, the movie that helped you so much.
Lord of the Rings was landed when I was really struggling with my chest, and ended up in hospital a number of times, nearly died twice. And what kept me going was I was so determined to see the next Lord of the Rings film. I even wrote Peter Jackson a long letter and said, your trilogy is keeping me alive, kind of thing. And yeah, and it did. And I was so determined to be there to see the third movie. I never thought I was going to live to see the third movie. I thought maybe I might get to see Two Towers. But yeah, no. In the end, my health rallied, and there we are.
That is great news. I was wondering what had happened there. Fives out. JKR Azalos is here. Hello, Fives out. Have you had Hobbit food? And yeah.
By that, do you mean pipeweed, or what are we talking about?
I don't know exactly, but I have a friend that I go to every once in a while who he built his own house. He loves Lord of the Rings, and we've watched it with him at least 3 times all the way through. And he we've made shepherd's pie, and we've made one of the things he does that he says is we have campfires. So if you're having a Lord of the Rings party, you can also go outside and during the night under the stars, because he lives out where there isn't so much light pollution, so you can see all the stars. And we have tortillas and sausages and cheese. And is it technically what they ate in the books? Not really, but it kind of has that feeling of sitting together telling stories under the stars.
Well, I do like a nice shepherd's pie. I will say, I love a shepherd's pie. They're great.
And he says there's a Hobbit menu from Lord of the Rings. It's a real thing, all kinds of stuff, pretty much what we eat, but on a miniature scale. Yes, and I think that that Alamo Drafthouse, which I mentioned to you before, where they don't let you talk on your phone, also had a Lord of the Rings screening where they fed you Hobbit food. And
yeah, I was at the. I mean, I mentioned this in the Lord of the Rings section. They did a screening of the Return of the King extended with the extended. It was the whole trilogy extended, and the extended Return of the King had not yet come out on physical media, and this was the very first screening of it in the UK anyway, and it was only getting a limited release. And I was there. We went and we watched the whole thing, and there were. I mean, of course, you were there the whole day. It was a big event. People were coming in with pizzas, and there was about 3 different groups of people dressed up as the Fellowship. Lots of people in costumes, and that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't sold out though. It was only about 2/3 sold out.
Well, I found a menu for the Alamo Drafthouse. They had first, because of course they showed the whole trilogy, so there was a lot of food. They had first breakfast with mushroom crepes, bacon, blood orange hollandaise. Then they had second breakfast, and they had 11sies venison sausage. Second breakfast was, I don't even know what this is. Grand Marnier, ginger butter, strawberries, Pain Purdue. I'm not even sure. Then they also, after 11sies, they had luncheons with pistachio, rainbow trout, and some other stuff. Afternoon tea with lemon pound cake. I'm not reading the whole menu, but then they had dinner with a roasted game hen and supper. And I love I love that hobbits don't just have dinner, they have supper. And then
Supper,
honey
yeah.
with mascarpone, which I some of this stuff I don't even know what it is. And also lamb, of course you have to have lambus bread, but I don't know what that was, what they
That's
used
the elven.
because it's a fictional bread.
Yeah. Well, basically, a hobbit's life all revolves around eating and planting food, and it's the average day of a hobbit is basically spent preparing the next meal because there are about 8 meals throughout the day.
Yes, and that was when you really felt the desperation of the situation when all they had left was the lembas bread.
Yeah.
And Suzanne says, I'd like to take a moment to thank you, Jill, for hosting the stream today. Your guest is an amazing fellow. Thank you for putting on this live stream together. Well, welcome.
Suzanne, that's exceptionally kind of you to say that. Thank you so much.
Oh. We have okay, so post a message that I'm not gonna put on my chat because it has the F word in it, like the
I'm looking
not
for it.
not the normal F word, but the one for gay people. But that's not what it means. Like in British terms, you guys use that word for something
in
different.
the food context.
Yeah, in the food context, it's apparently a pork-based awful meatball, not the rude
Yeah,
word.
it is. I mean, it's often served up as a dish called. I mean, I don't know. Can I say the word in this context? If I put it with another word, they're normally put together, which is faggot's brains, and it's like a.
Oh, there you go.
Sheep's. I can't remember exactly what's in it, but that's what it was called on a menu once when I went to get it. And obviously, the word has an offensive connotation elsewhere, but it's a legitimate food name. It's I don't think most people don't use it anymore for that reason. So
yeah, right.
should I
And
not?
the
Sorry,
same thing
should I
with
have not
cigarette. The same thing
said
with the
that?
cigarettes. But well, within context, I guess that's the only time anybody can ever.
I think
But
it's.
I
think
wouldn't
it's
want
just.
it to be repeated too many times or anything.
No. I wouldn't want to repeat it at all. But yeah, that's what I remember. The food being called something like that. I think
That's
it's a
what's really
brand.
great about Lord of the Rings is you can go down so many rabbit holes with this movie. Concerning,
Sorry, yeah, and I've just been
everything.
corrected in chat. You're absolutely right. The name of the brand was let's call it Phobo, Mr. Brain's Phobos, and they came in this sauce, and the brand was called Mr. Brains. That's right. So not Phobos
Mr.
brand,
Brains.
Mr. Brain's Phobos. Yeah, and I do remember having those, and I do remember thinking, I'm not sure if I like these. I quite like stuffing now though.
Yeah, no, and if you want to hear me gush about Lord of the Rings, I was on my friend's Ben's channel, Cinema Gulp. Have you been on Cinema Gulp yet?
I haven't,
don't think
and
you have.
anyone who's seen me on any channel ever or listen to my own channel, you'll need to understand my channel has an open door policy. So if you're another YouTuber and you want to come on, I mean, bearing in mind I can't get everybody on all the time, but I'm always up for collaborating with people. I don't do politics on my channel. I don't do religion, so I don't want people talking about.
He
that kind of
doesn't
stuff.
do that either. He would be totally good for your channel, and vice versa, you for his channel.
And we predominantly focus on things we like, and
yes, he does too.
If you watch my stream about the Acolyte, the only reason I decided to do it was because people were ranking on it so bad before it had even opened, before it had even screened or been released. And I thought, well, this isn't right. I want to give this a fair shake, and because I quite liked her previous TV series, Girls, the one set in New York. I thought, I want to see this. It might be quite good. I quite like Amanda Stenberg, and if you watch this is the only time where I ended up doing a stream about something that was actually rubbish. I was trying to be so positive. By the time I got to the third episode, I was like, it's like my body was being dragged over hot coals. I was finding it harder and harder to be more productive. But generally, my my channel is there to promote other creatives, there to promote old and new films and TV shows that we think are good, that we want to recommend.
But I can understand wanting to review something new and being hopeful for it, and then just being disappointed, and then
that was exactly
you have to deal with the fallout of that as it comes. And I want to make sure I say hello to Broku. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the late arrival. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Of course, no, you're not late. You're just on time. You're here exactly when you mean to. Yeah. So I'm glad you're here, Broku.
I have a baby Yoda doll that gets a lot of cuddles from me, and it's called Yodu. That's my name for it, Yodu.
Oh, Yodu. That's cute. Yeah. Well, and 8 meals a day, that means I'm raising a hobbit. Yeah, but I guess they're probably smaller meals, or I don't know, hobbit. But definitely Cinema Gulp I think you would like his channel, because he doesn't just talk about movies, he makes movies. He even gets paid to do filmography in some of his time. And Fleet Admiral Levi says, okay guys, I have to head out. Fun conversation. I hope you enjoy the rest of the holiday season and a very pleasant happy new year. Hoping to hop on Lance's show next year. Love you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
You'd be most welcome.
Yes, you did. You met Philip when we were talking about For All Mankind. So this is Philip from that live stream. So you do know him. And Keith E says, Lance's industry interviews are great. It's a very eclectic cross-section of the society. You never know who you're going to see, which I agree with completely. Very well said.
Yeah, because I want to support these small creatives, the first time board game creator or whatever they may be doing, somebody producing their first album, or it might be a group of actors that have got together to do a play on a particular topic that I think is worthy of bringing to the wider public's attention. But at the same time, all of those, I don't want to call them the little people because it sounds demeaning, but let's just say the people that are lower down the rung in terms of their profiles, they will benefit from having the bigger guests that I've had on, and so I'm always going after big guests if I can get them. And I hadn't done lots of interviewing before I did this this is the backbone of my channel, are the industry interviews. But I had done a couple, and I just seem to have got a good knack for it. All of my guests have pretty much universally said to me afterwards, wow, that was great. I loved that. It was like being down the pub or whatever. And Gail Ann Hurd, who's a big guest, of course, biggest we've had, I think. Tough cookie. Never thought I'd get her to agree to come on again, but she has. So she'll be back on 2025, I hope, and we'll talk about some different topics because we barely scratched the surface there with her.
That would be great. I hope she does return for you. And I don't want to. I want to make sure I'm caring for your time. So I want to return back to the Lord of the Rings section just for one more thing. As much as I actually want to talk about the movie, I'll avoid doing that because I really love it. I do appreciate though that you think of it as one big movie instead of the 3 separate parts.
I think of it.
That's what I think of it as also.
It's a 3-part story. I mean, I find that question, what's your favorite Lord of the Rings film, is a bit nonsensical. I mean,
which one has the scenes in it that mean the most to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one I can watch most again is The Fellowship, because I just love the world building, the setup, the characters. Death of Boromir is such an impactful scene. The scene at the river is great. There's so many great shots in it.
Oh yes, yes, I do. I do love the expansion of the characters.
I mean, I saw. I that was the last movie that I saw in the cinema.
Arwen.
Literally as many times as I could.
Yeah, definitely. And in watching this movie with people have become extended family to you through this movie. or just in general, and they watch this movie with you, and it's good that
Yeah, I mean,
you have that kind of family.
Lord of the Rings for me became very important at Christmas because I Christmas was always a big time in our house, and I talk about that in the book because my father was Danish, and Danish Christmas decorations are quite unique and very pretty, and so Christmas was always a big thing. And when I lost my mum and dad, Christmas felt very empty. And as soon as I was married, I was adamant that our Christmases were going to be great, and the first 4 we had until I got crucified on that movie and the production fell apart, were fantastic Christmases. They were 4 of the best Christmases I've ever had in my life. And one of the things that made them great was we had an annual ritual of we would watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy every Christmas. That was the one time in the year we always watched it. I mean, sometimes we might watch it again, but we'd start, Fellowship of the Ring sort of Christmas Day evening as we're kind of shedding the food coma, veg on the sofa and watch that movie. We might make it to the first half of Two Towers, all extended editions, of course. And then the following day, Boxing Day, we'd watch the second part of the Two Towers and Return of the King. And I've said that I'm not going to do that again until I have somebody new, special in my life again. In fact, I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a little bit sad you haven't watched it during Christmas for so many years, for 5 years now.
The last Christmas I can remember watching it was 2018, I think. And yeah,
I hope you find someone to watch it with again.
Well, I want to wait until I fall in love again, and then I want that to. It's not that I'm looking to replace. But that's an experience I would like to share with that person, especially if they weren't a Lord of the Rings fan before. I'm pretty sure I can win them over. So yeah, so I'd like to
in the book you talk about having done that. So if you guys want to hear about that story, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, with Asher. Yeah, absolutely. That was a funny. She was always adamant. No orcs or goblins, and I was like, no space. So we couldn't watch anything. We couldn't watch anything Star Trek. Couldn't watch anything Star Wars.
Trek. Oh, you must have really loved her.
Yeah, I did. No, she was still a very good friend of mine, and yeah.
So the next section of the book that I read was Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and I know you didn't put this movie in your book because of how you loved it, but it's my favorite Harry Potter movie, and you might realize this when you see that I explored all the movies earlier this year, and something inside me hurts when you say the movies are forgettable. But remembering my own podcast, I couldn't talk about the movies without the books. So if that's the supplement required, then I can see how the movies are lacking something. So the context of lots of it is missing. So I can understand that feeling. But this section is nothing about that.
No, I mean, this section of the book is part 1 of 2 about really telling the story about Angela Thomas.
Yes.
And my third film,
and how she helped you.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's probably, I mean, it's a weird thing to say, but she's probably been there for me as much in her passing as she has when she was here. And I know that sounds crazy to say that, but there's been times when I've been really, really, struggling, dark place, whatever you want to call it. And, I felt her presence in the room, very much so. And, I know she's there. I know she's kind of, hang on, Lance, just one day at a time, get through to tomorrow. Tomorrow won't be so bad. There's a lot of that going on. So it was important to include her because the thing that first connected, there were 2 things that connected me and her. Well, I mean, one, we met on a film set, first of all, where I was doing an acting job. And then we both loved movies, and she was in a couple of the Harry Potter films, so we started going to see them together. That was a thing we would do every year when they came out. And I was writing a book with her, which subsequently became a play, which was called Fragile, which probably was my weakest play. That's me being self-critical of my own work again. But it was a book about Angela's life, and it covered some very difficult issues, which again I won't get into now. But you know, the fact that she trusted me to write that for her was a huge honor and also a huge responsibility. And then halfway through writing it with her, she died. You know, and oh man, that was the most difficult experience of my life. And I've been through some pretty difficult stuff. I've been through some pretty bad stuff since then. But and you can see it in my film The Journey. My film The Journey is dedicated to her. There are scenes in the film where me and her are represented. The hospital scenes in the film are exactly what happened word for word on the real thing. And you know, I mean, when she died, because I'd lost people already. I'd lost James, I'd lost Lucy, I'd lost Rebecca Holland, a leading actress in one of my other films, died very young, tragically, of a heart attack, heart defect. And you know, so but her going was I was not ready for it. We had such a unique connection, and of course the last thing I told her when I saw her in the hospital was I told her I was in love with her, and that when she got out we needed to talk about that. And I said I was going to take care of her when she got out, because I knew she was going to have a long road to recovery. And I said, I'm the only one who's, you know, works from home most of the time. So you're going to come and live with me. No argument. That's it. I'm going to look after you. That's what I'm going to do. And she said, yeah, okay, no problem. You know, and I better probably
And
stop
that
talking
is
about
but that cliffhanger. Well, we're gonna skip to the Mesrin.
On that bombshell, we're gonna move
that
on.
Is no, we're
By the
not
book.
moving on. No, we're not moving on. This is the conclusion to the cliffhanger, and in the Mesrin section is when you conclude that cliffhanger, and you say, when you confessed your feelings to her, she said, "Thank you. I'm not scared anymore." And so you told me that I was going to cry when I read one of these sections. And that was that part. That was the part that you must have been mentioning.
Yeah, I mean,
that was heartbreaking.
Looking back now, different people serve different roles in different people's lives at different times. And sometimes you don't get to choose what that role is, you know. And my role in her life predominantly was to be there for her in that moment when because she was so scared. And the story is I went into the hospital, said all the stuff about I'm going to take care of her, blah blah blah, and then I left and I went back to the bus stop visiting Owls Rover. I didn't tell her anything personal, and I was there, and I arranged to stay locally so I could be there in the morning after her operation and so on. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, no, I need to say everything now. I have to say everything now. So I went back in, and it was just blind luck that this nurse was coming out the electric door just as I was coming back, and sort of kept my head down, avoided eye contact because I didn't want her to stop me from going in. And she carried on. She was busy, and I just went straight in, went back to her bedside, and she was like, "I thought you'd gone." And I was like, No, I have to tell you something very important, which is that I love you. You know, so that was when she gripped my hand really tightly and said, yeah, I'm not scared anymore. So when I look back on that, that was the moment I was supposed to be there for her so that she would not be scared when she had to make the journey from this life to the next. That's really what my film's about. And oh man, that, you know, probably here I'm getting a bit emotional, but it was no, that's not a role that anyone wants to have. That's not a role anyone wants to have in life, but I'm glad it was me. You know, people have asked me if I would change it, and I'm like, no. I'm glad I was that person, and I'm glad I got to say those things. But boy,
yeah,
you know,
and you got in that room
you know?
before it closed, and you would have had to have approval to go back in there, and you probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, and No, I wouldn't have got approval to go back in. I was very, very lucky. And, you know, and then unfortunately her brain thing erupted the next day. She went into a coma and she passed away 3 days later. So, and it's summer of 1990, terrible year for me. I lost my mum and my aunt and my dad's twin brother all that year, all within a few weeks of each other. Really, really difficult year. Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
you know,
well, and these kinds of things are difficult to talk about, and I'm sorry.
no, that's
that you
okay.
have to go through
You
them.
know,
But they are so very impactful and motivation. You seem to be able to turn these tragedies into something worthy of the memories that you shared with them somehow. Like you take
well,
something terrible and you turn it into something beautiful.
I've always said that my greatest strength and also my biggest folly is that I wear my heart on my sleeve. You know, so and telling stories is what I know. You know, I've been writing scripts and books and things all my life. So it was inevitable that I was going to try and finish Angela's half-written play, not very successfully, and it was inevitable that a few years later, having been unsatisfied with that play, I would have to do some kind of other dedication to her, which turned out to be the film The Journey. It's on the YouTube channel. You can see it. I don't know if one of your mods wants to grab the link for it. You can watch it for free, guys. You know, feel free to do a review on IMDb if you watch it. Yeah, you'll find it if you type into YouTube. If you search The Journey feature film Jason, it will come up straight away. And yeah, when I did that movie premiere, and I talk about the premiere in the book a little bit, Angela's sister was there. Sadly, we lost her to cancer last year. But she said to her husband, her husband said to her, you know, after they watched the movie, he said, God, you know, Lance must have really loved your sister to make that film. And we talked at me and him at Angela's sister's funeral. We talked about that conversation. I reminded him. I said, "You remember when you told me that?" And he said, "Oh, and she loved you. Angela's sister loved you so much. She was so proud of you. She never stopped talking about that movie you made." And I was like, "Oh," and that was another moment where my kind of voice wobbled. And
Wow.
But
right.
yeah.
Right. Well, and they know the meaning of the movie, and so it's very. You gave her family a gift in that dedication.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure I say hello to Pleasant Valley Picker CA, who says just started listening a short time ago. Interesting discussion, and also I want to thank Cam's Crash Courses using his 4-month membership chat to say excellent stream. Lance is a quality guest. I really appreciate his sharing with us and look forward to hearing more of his story. I'm truly touched. Thank you.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I agree with that completely, 100%. And if anybody needs to hear more of Lance's stories, he does share of himself in his book Silver Screen Journey. And here's the link to The Journey feature film directed by Lance. So
yeah, that's
and now that everybody here knows how meaningful it is, what's behind it, you know, now we really got to go watch it, right?
Hey, do you guys want to see a clip of it? Because again,
yeah, sure.
It's my material, so it's you know, I own the copyright. And I've shown clips of it before, actually, and I've got like a thing has come up saying, "Oh, so and so shown a bit of your movie. Do you want to report them?" And I'm like, "No."
Do you want?
You know,
and it's gonna, yeah, right. That comes up in your copyright stream. I've had that happen before too. AFS 1970 is here, catching a bit of this, but coming in late. Good to see you, AFS. I'm glad you're here.
Why don't I, because I
Christmas
told you guys about it. Why don't I show you that scene that I just talked about?
Yeah, definitely. And as PvP said also, Christmas is a time of reflection. As Dickens said, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Christmas is often determined by what's happening in your own life at the time, whether it's a good one or a bad one. And I kind of, there's a lot of unfair expectations on it as well, I think, levied at people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Except, of course, happy birthday. Surely the best of times.
Yeah, I do like that line. This is the journey. It's not a major spoiler for anyone watching because, of course, we've just talked about this scene and I just told you what happened. So this is a flashback because most of the film is set in Greece. Okay, so this is one of the London flashbacks. And this is Duncan Powell, who many of you will recognize as the commando character in Rogue One. He's the guy who leads the ground mission on the to attack the installation. He's in charge of the commandos.
Oh.
Melchi, he's called Melchi, his character name. And great, fantastic actor. And so this is a bus stop, not the real bus stop, but this was not far from where we were filming on our second unit in London. So he's just left the hospital. So he goes to the bus stop. Can you hear the sound all right?
Yes.
And I don't know if I actually smoked that day. I honestly can't remember. It's quite possible that I did. I don't smoke, and I can't. It's not good for my chest. Yeah, Duncan was unknown to me before we did this. This hospital was right down the road from me. So this is Charlene Collins, who plays Angela in the movie.
Gone. I did. I had to come back. Because I have to tell you something. I love you. I've always loved you. When you get out of here, we're going to have to talk about it. I'm not scared. I'm not scared anymore. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I've never directed a scene as hard as that in my life. And when we prepared the set, which was actually in Greece, it was doubling for the interior of the London hospital, and we filmed it in a medical centre on the island where we were doing the main shoot in Greece. And I said to the makeup artist and the first AD, right, I want the set prepared. I want everything ready to go. I want cameras all ready to go. I want Charlene in bed, in position. I want her and Duncan just to run their lines, no emotion. I'm not going to be on set for that. I just wanted to run it a couple of times, no emotion. And then I said, I'll walk on the set and I'll call action. And I walked on the set, saw Charlene in the bed. You know, the whole thing just took me right back to that moment. And my face went as white as a sheet. And the first AD said to me, "You all right?" And I said, "Yeah." Roll cameras, please. And we did that. And I think we did 3 takes of this. We did a couple of coverage shots as well. So maybe 5 setups altogether. And it was the last day of filming of the first shoot in Greece. And this shoot was originally scheduled to be in London, but we had some things shuffle around, and I said, look, why don't we try and see if we can film in this medical center on the island, because, you know, let's face it, they're not very busy. And sure enough, the Greek producers made it happen, and, you know, we're in a real hospital bed and all the rest of it. And yeah, we got that location completely for free. Just thank them all in the credits. Trust me, after watching this film, Canadian Spider-Man, you will definitely want to go to Greece after watching this movie. Yeah, so yeah.
That was very good of them to let you film there for free.
Yeah, I think we got 90% of our locations for free for the movie. We were pretty lucky with that. And, you know, Greece is its own set, you know. I mean, you're filming on an island. It's like everywhere you point the camera, it looks beautiful. We had fantastic light. I mean, amazing sunsets, and, you know, the whole...
Just naturally.
The whole journey of filming the journey, pun fully intended, you know, was quite cathartic in a way. And I'll never forget the premiere. And the film was as much about Angela as it was about my then partner, because my then partner was, you know, she changed my whole life for me at the time. And of course, we were planning on having kids and all of this sort of thing. And she was a huge light in my life. And there's no way I would have finished the film if it wasn't for Alison by my side. You know, we went through some really difficult times when we were shooting that movie. All shot, by the way, for $50,000. So that was
wow,
was
that's
budget.
an incredible amount.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
so no, I'm still not finished, because you were inspired by somebody just recommending you go to Greece on a Yahoo chat board.
I was on
and is that why you chose Greece as a filming location?
No, I mean, I wanted to retell the story of how I first came to Greece. It's one of the 3 storylines in the film. Yeah, I don't know if anybody remembers the old Yahoo chat rooms you used to have, and it was like a big sort of ship, and you had like the captain's cabin and all these different rooms, and there were moderators in all the rooms. It was when like chat was a big thing.
I do remember it. I was like 12. I remember it.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for reminding me of my age. Anyway, so
you're welcome.
Basically, because Angela passed away on the Friday. My dad's twin brother died on the Sunday, and I'd lost my mother 6 weeks earlier. So this was not a good time. And on Sunday night, I was out of my mind. I was drunk, I think. And I'm not a big drinker, so it doesn't take much for me to get drunk. And I was venting in one of these Yahoo chat rooms, saying, oh my God, you know, like 3 of the most important people in my life have died this year. How am I going to process it? I was just ranting. And you know, the little chat box would pop up when someone wanted to private message you. You get like this little box that would pop up on your PC screen. And this box pops up, and this person, whoever they were, I'd love to meet them. But to this day, I think this person was Angela. But they said, look, I'm on this island in Greece. I'm typing to you from a hammock because I missed my boat back to the mainland. And the couple who own the hotel where I had dinner have put me up. They've said I can sleep in the hammock for free, you know. And it was I mean, Greece is really hot in the summer, really hot. So this was the last week of July, and that conversation happened on Sunday night, and by Wednesday morning I was on that island staying at that hotel.
And you know, if oh no, you're cutting out, Lance.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay,
Testing,
there you are. There you
testing,
are.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, now you sound better. You just cut out for just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, so I ended up, you know, from the point that I had that conversation with that guy in Yahoo chat, it was 3 days, and I was on that island, also in that hammock. And I never asked the hotel owners actually about, you know, did you let this guy stay? Because I was in a daze when I was there. But those people really looked after me. and I ended up meeting all these other interesting characters, including this British woman who was going through a really difficult divorce with her Greek husband, and she became one of the characters in the movie. And I met this other wonderful Greek actress who was staying at the hotel at the time called Shirin, and Shirin in the movie ended up playing the hotel owner, who she knew very well. So there's all these wonderful stories about that trip that and had a certain synergy with the movie that you can watch. And
Canadian Spider-Man is offering, if you ever want to talk happy about your times in Greece, that would be good to hear.
I
And he
have a
means
lot of great
he's
memories.
got Canadian Spider-Man has a travel channel where he talks about all his travels all around the world, and Greece is one of the locations he wants to go to. So I suppose he would like to, hear about it and what it's like to be there and all of that stuff. And if you've got any pictures, he would love
I've got
for
loads
you
of
to be a
pictures.
guest.
I've got loads of pictures. If you want to show any of the shots from my movie on your channel, if you're ever talking about Greece, as long as you include the link for the movie and recommend to people they watch it on my channel, feel free, mate. Knock yourself out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it
So,
sounds like that's if. And Greek Letters Larson asks which island.
So I went to. Let me get the name of this right. It's very tiny. It's not a typical tourist island. And by the way, Canadian Spider-Man, I just subscribed to your channel. So it was. Oh my God, there are 2 islands near Athens that you can get to within a couple of hours, and one of them is called Kia, which was one of the islands we filmed on, and the other one is got the temple of a Greek goddess on it. I need to get the map up. And next to that island is a really, really tiny slither of an island. There's only like one road on it that sort of wraps around it. And that is the island I went to where this hotel, Rosie's Little Village, I think the hotel is called. Yeah, I mean, just a fantastic, beautiful place. There were quite a lot of flies. Egina. Right, so the big island with the temple on it is called Egina, and the small island next to Egina is called Agistri. And Agistri is where I stayed. And there are shots of Egina and Agistri in the movie, but most of the movie was shot on, about 60% of it was filmed on Kia, and about 30% was filmed on Egina.
And Spidey says, we would love to see your pics. We can include whatever links you want to show. All 20 viewers, if we're lucky. Yeah, Spidey has about the same kind of viewership as my show, so it's really good. And Spidey also subscribed to you too, so that's good news
bless
too.
You.
Lance's story is compelling, says Cam. I fell in love 20 years ago, says Cam, with a girl, but the timing wasn't right. Many years and lifetimes later, that girl came back into my life through a tragedy, and she saved my life.
That sounds like a great idea for a novel. Just saying, you might want to write all that down one day and see if you can shape that into a book, because that sounds like a good book to me.
And we're almost getting through all the sections you recommended I read. The next one is Milk, and it seems like there were a lot of friendships that arose that wouldn't exist without this movie. As this is the theme of this book.
Yeah, I mean, we can't talk about Milk without talking about Danny Nicoletta. So Milk is a great movie, a true story, which I love these kinds of films if they're made well and the subject is treated with sensitivity. And I've always kind of been proud of the fact that I have a very, very eclectic group of friends from all kinds of backgrounds, races, creeds, political views, sexuality, etc., all of that. And so my casting director, Sharon, is one of my closest friends. She was very interested in seeing Milk, and I think we went to see it for her birthday. And I didn't know much about Harvey Milk. I knew some stuff because I'd seen the TV movie with Peter Coyote, which is a very good film actually. But I didn't know the emotional detail. When I heard Sean Penn was being cast as Milk, I thought, my God, that's a terrible choice, because Wasn't he quite homophobic younger in his life? And didn't he make some, but look, everybody makes mistakes when they're young, and of course he
And it sounds like he
radically,
tried to course correct.
I think he just radically changed as a person, and I think a lot, you can credit Madonna with a lot of that, whether you agree with his views or whatever. Fantastic person. So, I mean, sorry, what I wanted to say was he did a fantastic job playing Milk. I don't know Sean Penn as a person, and
I agree.
It's the performance of his career. It's an amazing performance. So having been presented with all these kind of facts and characters and people I'd never heard of, I did what I always do when I see a film that kind of moves me. I go home, I go onto Google. I'm always interested to see what these characters are doing now, what they've done since, are they still alive, and so on. And Danny Nicoletta and I connected on Facebook, and I said, "Are you the guy that used to run with Harvey Milk and you worked at the camera store in the Castro?" And he was like, "Yep, that's me." And I said, "I'm a filmmaker, and maybe we could do some sort of documentary about all your photos. You must have thousands." Anyway, to cut long story short, that's how Danny Nicoletta and I became friends. We've never met in person, but we've done FaceTime and lots of calls. And one time when I was going through my divorce, very, very, very difficult time, very upset. It's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Not a lot of people you can call at that time in the morning. But of course, my friends in America are 5 hours behind. And most of my friends in America work in the film industry, so they're not readily available. And the one person that reached out to me was Danny. And there's a message in my inbox. "Are you all right? Just in your post. You all right?" And within a couple of minutes of that, he was on a call to me. And we must have been on that call for about 2 hours. I was bawling my eyes out. I was a real mess. And this comes back to what I said earlier. Like, certain people come in your life at a certain time and they have a certain purpose. And maybe the purpose of our friendship was not to do this project together, which hasn't happened yet. It may well still happen, who knows? But it may have been for Danny to have been there on the end of the phone for me in that moment, at that moment in time, to make sure I didn't do something stupid. So, and that's that. And I wrote about that in the book because I'd never articulated quite correctly what that phone call meant to me to him. And I said to him, when I was writing the book, I said, "Danny, by the way, you're in my new book." And he was like, "Really? Why was that?" And I said, "Do you remember that phone call?" And I don't think he did remember it at the time, but he's a great photographer.
And he didn't know how much it impacted you.
No, and I wanted to thank. This is his website. I'll chuck the link for it in the private chat, and you can share it. And his whole, there's a big story about him. This is him, and he looked very much like this in the movie. He's played by an actor in the film, of course. And he's got a book out, and he's sort of catalogued a whole period of LGBT history and so on. Just a fascinating guy. And I think, as a creative, as a writer who wants to tell stories, you kind of have an obligation to yourself to surround yourself with the most interesting and eclectic, diverse range of friends that you can, because you don't want to be hearing one opinion in your right ear all the time and maybe another opinion in your left ear all the time. You want to get a multitude of perspectives from different people and different cultures, from different periods of history. This guy has lived a whole life that I wasn't alive for, with huge political characters, some of whom are not here. He has an incredible insight into that period of history, and I wanted to hear about it from someone who was there. And that makes you richer as a creative. It means you have more emotional, tangible experiences to draw from because you've heard about them. So when you come to create your own characters and you decide you're doing a character from that time period, oh yeah, let me think back to what Danny told me about that era.
Yeah.
And it's a flaky example, but the point is illustrated, I think. Yeah, he's a very valued friend, even though I've never met him in person. I suppose that goes for you as well, Jill, of course. But I cherish these friendships, and my life is richer for it, and I'm really glad I reached out to him, and we became kind of online buddies or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and that's an incredible connection that you have there with a lot of people that expand your, like you're saying, expand your worldview to help you know how to express yourself creatively. That is really that is a fantastic thing that you've been able to do, and
all happened because of that film, that connection. So
everybody listening today seemed to be appreciating that.
Yeah.
And
something else I should mention is if people buy a copy of the book, this is possibly the most glamorous picture I've been sent to date. Do send me one of these, a picture of you holding the book. I'm still waiting for Jill to send me a set of the Star Trek Enterprise picture with the book on the console. But yeah, because these are great for my social media. And if you're shy, if you're camera shy, you can hide behind the book, or you can put it on the coffee table. Don't put it on the floor. Some people have sent me pictures of the book on the floor. It's like a brown floor. It could be anywhere. Well, I could have just shot that in my house, Put it on the rug at least, or by the fireplace or something.
Yeah, something that's meaningful to you. Yeah, that makes sense. If you're not going to be in it.
I had a fantastic picture from Gord King. If you're familiar with his channel, he's quite an entertaining guy.
Oh, I think I've seen him on your channel.
Yeah, he's never gone on camera, and that's obviously quite a big thing. But he did send me. I'm trying to find it now. He did send me a picture of him with the book. And when I got the picture, I laughed because we call him the Pumpkin King, because all of his sort of images are all like of a pumpkin with a crown on and stuff like this. And I was like, I want a real photo, Gord. Send me a real picture. You can hide behind the book or something. He said, oh, no, you'll get a book of my, you'll get a picture of my likeness. And I just found it. Here it is.
Put it in the fireplace, some way to advertise your book.
No, he sent me this picture. It's great. So that's what the king looks like in the flesh.
This one made me giggle, but I'm not going to read it.
No, yeah, don't send me those, please. Nothing saucy. There's the Gord King. So if you don't know what the Gord King looks like, there he is.
There he is. Wow. For the first time ever, if you haven't seen the Gord King, here he is. I have to take care of my daughter again. I had to step away just for a couple minutes.
Oh, so I'll fill in for a second?
Yeah, just for another.
Okay, well, if anyone in chat wants to ask me a question, as you can tell, I am, for want of a better phrase, I'm a bit of an open book. So let me scan the chat and let me also see if there's maybe any other questions I've missed. Cut to the Monty Python intermission music. Will there be an audio version of this book? Yeah, so from FKHC2005. Yeah, I mean, the answer to this question is yes. Because it's quite a personal book, I've been told I should record it myself. I was going to ask Jason Fleming if he'd do it for me. I am going to do an audio version of it, but I want to do something, and someone's just said it, I want to do something completely different from other audio books. So I think I'm going to record the meat of it myself, but I think I'm going to include a couple of surprises in there. So yes, audio book is one of my to-do lists for the audio version of the book is on my to-do list for 2025. So that is on the cards. Hopefully it will happen pretty soon. Any other questions? Keep them coming. As I wish not to ramble and be boring. If I can help it, I'll do my best not to be boring, but you never know. People can become boring pretty quickly if you're not careful. So One of the things I mentioned in the book, by the way, was actors that I want to work with. I used to keep a list on my wall, and yeah, that list is at the back of the book. Keith E has asked, what kind of stubs do you save now in the digital world for your stock box? So Keith is referring to the box of my cinema tickets, which I still have. I don't save them, is the answer, because you don't get tickets anymore. So what is there to save? A digital receipt? That's no good, is it? So no, I don't save them. What do you think of Drinker's Ryan Drake mini taster? So I'm going to caveat this answer with, first of all, Will is a personal friend of mine. You have to understand what that is that you watched. There is a huge difference between a pilot and a proof of concept teaser, or whatever you want to call it, proof of concept taster. You don't get many proof of concept tasters that look as good as that. I feel some of the acting could have been better, and I think it would have been nice if they could have spent a little bit more time on the casting. But you know, as a proof of concept teaser, it does the job. I think it's going up against a lot of other high-profile secret agent shows. We've got quite a lot of that sort of thing at the minute. You know, we just had The Jackal with Eddie Redmayne. I wasn't sure if I liked that show when I was watching it, but in the end, it won me over. It took risks, killed off people, killed off the right people. So I liked it ultimately. I think it was good. So yeah, so that's the answer to that question. No, it's an honest answer. As I said, I mean, you've got to understand what it is. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, you know, this isn't very good," or whatever, and it was a very mixed response. You got to remember, it's a proof of concept teaser. It's not a, you know, this is not a ready to go for Netflix. You know, it's miles away from that. And what they did with the money they had, pretty amazing. You know, most people won't do projects or attempt to do projects with those kinds of elements involved unless there's much more substantial money in place. So, you know, from a technical point of view, I thought they did very well. What else have we got? I'm visualizing John Cleese doing his silly walks, so that's easy to visualize. And are you back, Jill?
Yes, I have returned, and thank you so much for filling in. I returned as quickly as I could.
No problem.
We're on the section where you watched. So we're jumping ahead in history when you watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I love this movie too.
Oh
but I
my
can't
God.
seem to get my husband to stay seated to watch it. He's only watched half of it.
I mean, this is, again, you know, it's a big difference between, like, a lot of people that I know that watched Heat on VHS or DVD said the film was long and boring. Most people that I know that saw it at the cinema said the film was amazing. And I mean, I could talk about why Heat is amazing on so many levels, not just because of the gunfight for 2 hours, and we won't do that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is another one. You know, if you see it in the cinema, it's a film that's intended to be seen in the cinema, has a very different impact on you. It is a film that's easy. If you're watching it at home, you've got your phone on, you know, you're scrolling through whatever, you're checking your emails, texts, stuff like that. You're not giving the film the commitment it deserves, because that film demands that you emotionally invest in those characters, the Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio characters.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I went to go see this by myself, and then yeah, so and then I'm trying to make someone watch it at home. It's a little difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 128 movies listed in the book, and if somebody asked me, you know, what is my number one film in that book, I'd be hard pressed to not say it's not an easy answer because everybody will says, "What's your favorite movie?" And that's a stupid question. I've got so many favorite movies, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is what, in my opinion, is one of the best films ever made for a multitude of reasons. Not least of which is the script is brilliant. Tarantino knows how to sell moments to the audience. He knows how to build tension. He's a master at it. His ensemble of cast. I was lucky enough to interview Damon Herriman, who played Charles Manson in it, and you know, he said it was like the most fun he'd ever had on a film set. And you know, you can see the way that the actors bond on a Tarantino set. You know, they have a very natural, organic, very in the moment process of that's what you see on screen. And I'm sure much of that is down to not only the talent of the actors, of course, but Tarantino's ability to, you know, create that kind of atmosphere, get everybody pumped, get everybody excited, get everybody as invested in the movie as he is as the director. He's amazing. I mean,
I love his pacing. I love his dialogue. I love everything about how he does everything, and it's well named too. It's basically a fairy tale.
I could watch endless sequels to that film. I would love to see. I say this in the book. I would love to see a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the 1980s, and like the two guys struggling to fit in. You know, now they're completely lost and they're really old. And I love those characters. I mean, I could watch those characters, you know, talk.
I do too, but Tarantino doesn't do a lot of sequels.
No, I mean, he won't make a sequel to it, but he has said that his next film will be his last, and I think that would be a tragedy. I think he should. I mean, of course, he's got a life he wants to live, but I would like to see him direct like John Hughes, you know, right up into his night, like Clint Eastwood, you know, keep going until, because I think he's got more great films to give us, and I think it would be a real shame.
I think it would be a tragedy if this is the last thing he created, but I think I'm. It's only a guess, but I'm just guessing he's moving from movies. Maybe he's going to do TV shows next and do series.
Interestingly,
hopefully he's going to make something.
Somebody in the chat just mentioned that they wanted to see a good sequel to The Wild Geese. Well, The Wild Geese occupies a massive section in the book. I think it's like film 11 or something like that, quite early on. And I talk about how I pitched the sequel, the third film, to the producer over the phone. That actually happened. And I wrote to him and I said I wanted to write the script for Wild Geese 3. And you know, and he said he called me up. He called me out the blue. I thought it was a friend of mine pranking me at the time, because there was a friend of mine that would always call me. He was an actor, and he would put on silly voices, and he'd prank me. He got me loads of times, you know. So I thought this is Stephen doing another prank.
There it is.
And so when this very well-known British producer, Ewan Lloyd, called me, I was like, "Is that Mr. Walters?" And he was like, "No, it's not." And he put the phone down, and I was like, "Shit, who was that then?" And he could.
I was like, yeah,
he called back a few days later, thank God, and yeah, I pitched him my script for Wild Geese 3. That's one of the stories in the book.
Neat. So. Well, yeah, that reminds me of when I was 5 or 6, and my cousin, who was about the same age as me, called me on the phone and pretended to be Woody Woodpecker and tried to make me convince me that she had a really good impression.
Yeah, I can believe that. I did like Woody Woodpecker when I was younger.
AFS 1970 says, I got hold and read a letter from Charles Manson once. It was a reply of sorts to a letter of one of my supervisors wrote to him. I guess, wow, weird.
So,
and of course, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the story where people don't, you know, the hippies die instead of the.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it is Tarantino
the Manson family murders don't happen.
Yeah, he's giving that era the ending that Hollywood would have given it if they could have chosen how it ended.
Yeah, exactly. And the next Yeah, and the next movie is Top Gun Maverick. That's the last one that I read. And after today, after the stream, I'm gonna go back and read all the parts that I skipped.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well, which I saw in 2019, I think it was the summer of 2019. It was the last film I saw with my ex-partner when we were still together. We broke up pretty soon after that. And there was a bit of getting back together in lockdown, and when everyone else was breaking up in lockdown, we always loved each other's company, so we got back together in lockdown, you know. So there was a bit of toing and froing, but the beginning of the end was the summer of 2019. And I remember that's the last time we went to the cinema together as a couple, and really both had that buzz of, my God, this film's amazing, you know. And we were talking about it all the way back. I bought the Blu-ray. We watched it in lockdown countless times. It was one of those films, you know. Hey, should we chuck Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on? She would love watching that, or Goodfellas. And so that film is now attached to the ending of that relationship, the most important relationship in my life I ever had.
A bookend.
Yeah, and it's the penultimate. It's the end section of the penultimate chapter. And the final chapter, there's only 3 movies, one of which is Top Gun Maverick. And originally, Top Gun Maverick was going to be the end of the book, because near the beginning of the book is when I went to see Top Gun Empire Screen 1, and now, all these years later, I'm back in what was Empire Screen 1. It's now the Empire IMAX, sitting in almost the same seats, watching Top Gun Maverick. And, you know, my whole life, you could almost say that was the moment I was going to write this book, because my whole life like flashed before my eyes as that dum 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 dum, you know, kind of started that song just before they go into the now, you know, the titles are coming up, you know, they succeeded and all that. Got chills when I heard that. I got taken right back to that, seeing Top Gun first time in the Empire, and what my life was like then, everything that had happened since, and where my life was at now. And I had this massive sense of failure, you know, because I sort of list my achievements, but towards the end of the book, but they're nowhere near where I thought they would be, both personally and professionally. And that really hit me when I was watching Top Gun Maverick. Probably not an emotional impact arc that Tom Cruise could have even foreseen. And man, I cried like massively during that movie, and it wasn't because I was missing Goose from the original film, although I was kind of tapping into that. But there were some really weird parallels in the movie, like, you know, Maverick is kind of a bit lost in the film, and, you know, and he hasn't got a serious partner. He's kind of still sort of a bit of an outcast and all this kind of thing, working outside the system, doing his thing. And there was a lot of parallels to my own life at the time. So yeah,
Right, it was a good journey. That's why that movie did so well.
It was great sequel. It was the sequel that it deserved. And it was, you know, okay, you know, it was Star Wars. The mission was basically Star Wars. Let's get down the trench and drop that bomb at a really difficult angle, and then you got to zoom up and get out of there. Oh yeah, like in the Death Star,
This is
right?
good fun. Oh, exactly.
I was waiting for that to be a line in the movie. I was waiting for someone to go, yeah, like in we've seen Star Wars, right? Like in Star Wars, they should have probably just done that as a.
Oh yeah, they knew what they were doing. They should have fessed up to it. Yes.
But yeah, it was a good film, and I had a lot of. I've watched it.
And like the original, they got together with the military to achieve all of the amazing stunts they did.
Yeah, it was.
Worse Maverick.
It felt like the right ending for the film, for the book. Sorry, because, you know, Top Gun's near the beginning. My life had come full circle. I was back in the same cinema, and I thought, you know, let's end with Top Gun Maverick. But then that ending felt quite negative, because I had a lot to say about where my life was at, and most of it wasn't good. And I thought, well, is there another film? What else have I seen since? And then I remembered I'd been to this friend of mine's movie that his father was at, and I tell a whole story about that. And that's the last film.
Oh, to lift it up a little bit.
Yeah, I
before the
well,
end.
just because that
That's
actually
good.
was a really positive. It was a really positive story, and I
Mhm.
thought, yeah, this is better. This is better
Yes.
ending.
That's good.
So
That's good. Yeah, and so if everybody wants to see what happens with that story, definitely buy Lance's book. I hope you check it out.
thank you.
And I've enjoyed these stories. How much you've embellished on these stories today on this live stream, and
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I've
looking for
probably
that link.
told
I'm sorry.
I've probably told a couple that I haven't. What you want the link for the book?
I got it right here. I just had to grab it. Here it
Oh,
is.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I've told a
Here it is.
I've told a couple of things probably in a bit more
Couple of new
detail.
ones.
So,
Yeah, a couple of new ones. You did. Thank you.
and
Thank you for
I've
that. Very fortunate.
you know,
But I know
there'll be there'll be a lot of films that are not in there that people will be going, oh, surely he must have a memory attached to this movie. And the answer to that is yes, I probably do, but I haven't been able to remember everything. And also, almost none of the films from 1988 are in there because they're all reviewed in my other book, and I didn't want to be repeating the stuff in 1988. So.
Yeah. Oh, is there like a section right at that time? Buy my book, 1988.
Well, yeah, basically, it's like, I said, look, I'm not going to talk about. There were some great films in '88, and I talk about Die Hard a bit, but
Right.
I don't talk about.
So
Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes, I love that.
Midnight Run, Midnight Run, one of the best films that came out that year by far. Midnight Run, such a good movie. So
yes, and I just wanted to thank you for being on today to talk about your book.
Said I was only going to come on for an hour. What's it? 3 hours and 10 minutes? What happened? What happened?
Yeah, I know. And I remember the fact that you said just 1 hour. So I wanted to give you the chance to put a pin in it here. We can always come back and talk more about whatever you like, and whenever we come up with something else to talk about, hopefully. And I'd like to give you a moment to let us know what you're up to on the internet and what more you want to say about your book or anything else you're creating.
Yeah, so I've got my next stream is tomorrow night at 8:00. We're doing a roundup of kind of the year. The first half of the stream is going to be dedicated, funnily enough, to my rave journey. So we're going to be talking about the top 5 rave events I went to in 2024, sorry. And I've got my special guest, Princess Pinky, coming on for that. She's also one of the people that's sort of one of my friends that I've met on that journey, good friend of mine. And I think 1 or 2 others from that scene might be popping on and giving us their top 5. So we're doing like a top 5. Then I've got the inside man on for the whole stream. Then I've got some of the other usual characters coming on a bit later. About 9:30 UK time, we'll be doing our top 5 film and TV shows of 2024 and the biggest blooper of the year. No surprises we're going to see because people get to vote. So we'll see which one takes the Raspberry Award of 2024.
Oh, Raspberry!
I don't. Like I say, my channel's not about negativity or anything.
Try to be positive, but still,
we do. But
you kind of can't avoid it.
I think we have to. Allocate a blooper, and So yeah, and then going forwards, don't forget my full-time, my sort of part-time job is I'm an acting coach. So if there's any actors listening, you need me to coach you on a self-tape, that's something I'm particularly good at doing. I'm also a script reader, script editor. I've advised people on structure for their novels, done editing of novels and stuff like that. Freelance. I've had people come through YouTube before who've asked me to give them feedback on various kind of creative work. So all of that I do. It's price based on per project and how much time, obviously, it will take. Yeah, in 2025, the 2 big projects are going to be the Rave book, Back to Raving at 50. Obviously, continuing with the YouTube channel. If you're a creative and you've got a project, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. If I can promote you, I will. And yeah, you know, one or two other things. I might be doing a play before the end of 2025, but we'll see. We'll see. The
Oh, a
jury's
new
not in.
play. Yes.
Jury's
That
not.
would be good.
Making of the Magnificent Seven is the play. Seven
Oh.
Magnificent Egos, but we don't have a theatre yet. We haven't got a theatre locked down. So until that is locked down, we can't say.
Yes, you need a venue. So there you go. I hope you get it. And that sounds like something you'd be very good at, and I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah.
And what is PvP saying? Jill is like a fun version of the tractor beam. She pulls you into her stream, but in a fun way. Oh, thank you, PvP. I'm glad you enjoyed it while you were here. And yeah. I think I'm really fortunate that I get to listen to and learn about everything you've accomplished and all of the cool things that you've done. I mean, I want to hear more.
Well, some of
Tractor
the
Jill, not so flattering.
some of the things I haven't accomplished. Yeah, does that make me the planet killer or whatever? Yeah. So.
Oh, the Doomsday Machine.
I will say, just to address a comment in the chat.
No, you're not.
2024 was not a bad year for me. In fact, because 2019 is when it really all fell apart, and every year after that was, you know, as difficult as the last one, or more so. 2022 especially was just an awful year. 2024 is the first year in a long time, 6 years, that I've been able to look back and go, most of what happened to me this year was good. Most of the memories I have of this year are good, are positive. Now I know some people had a very rough year, and I'm not saying everything. The year was not a bed of roses by any means, but you know, financial troubles are just constant because everything is so expensive. I'm sure that's the same for everybody.
Yes.
But you have to, you've got to focus on the positives. And one of the things I learned to do a long time ago was not give any energy or time to the things that either I don't have but I want, or things in my life that I can't control. You know, that's going to happen that way or the other, regardless of what I do. Fair enough, let that go. Focus on the stuff you can control. Well, I'm going to get a book out this year. Okay, I can control that. That's going to happen.
Good.
So yeah, so that was
Really
my
good
approach
advice.
to 2023 and 2024, and I think I was a bit more successful with it in 2024.
I hope that advice helps everybody have a wonderful 2025, which we're coming up on the new year, and currently, if you're watching this live stream live, and hopefully everyone has a happy new year, and 2025 is better than 2024 with respect to everybody's life. Hopefully, I don't know what's going to happen, but oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to get political, but yeah, hopefully that is some of the hope. Every life is unique and everyone has a sliding scale of happiness. Yes, this is true, PvP. That is about right. And I do want to end this live stream reading just an excerpt of the last section you asked me to read, Soulmates and Separation, if that's okay. And
Sure.
But before I do that, I just want to say thank you again for being here, and for sharing your stories with us. You've shared a lot more of yourself than you ever have before with this book, and I hope it's helped you as much as it's motivated me. I don't know. I think it's making me want to do something meaningful that maybe I haven't done before. And Curtis Selby says, yeah, Lance, great philosophy. That has been my way of living for the last 2 or 3 years. Yes, the idea to work on what you can control versus what you can't change. And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I like that idea. I think I'm going to stick with that too. And
Yeah,
I wanted to say
good advice. Trust me, it's good advice.
And I also wanted to thank everybody who was here in the chat. I don't know if I'll get to thank all of you because this chat has been so amazing and interactive. And just full of great information, things that I didn't know that I learned. My channel is all about me, learning stuff. Like I get to, I'm a little bit selfish. I get to learn things being here talking to you guys about all of these things. And I wanted to thank Curtis Selby, Canadian Spider-Man, FKHC 2005, Pleasant Valley Picker CA. Have a happy Sunday, guys. And I won't scroll up too far up, but I just wanted to thank the people who have been here this entire 3 hours, or who've gotten here a little bit late. I guess I'm gonna miss out on some of the people who showed up earlier, which I'm a bit disappointed that I'll be doing that, but I did read their chats earlier, and they know I appreciate everybody who comes to stop by to listen to me talk about stuff. And AFS 1970 was here. Cam's Crash Courses, one of the first friends I ever made on YouTube. So I was really glad to see you here today, and glad that you connected so much with Lance's stories. And Keith E says, thanks, Jill and Lance. I enjoyed this. Take care. And of course, Suzanne has to go take a nap. I hope you sleep well, Suzanne, and you feel better and refreshed to continue your day. Oh, wow. Curtis Selby did a blog post about the leadership of Charles Manson. Ooh, that's absolutely creepy. Yeah, I bet that is good.
Yeah, I mean, well, all cults are run by leaders, aren't they? At the end of the day, so
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and with unfortunate consequences.
Yeah.
Let me see who else was here. Penny, of course. Penny, I'm not sure if I even said hi to Penny. I'm so sorry, Penny, if I didn't say hi to you, but I'm saying hi now.
We're saying hi now. We saved you.
Yeah.
You're most important. We saved you to the end, Penny. So the most important person always goes last.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, sometimes definitely that happens. Let's see if there's. Let me grab one more person. Oh, another person I didn't say hi to because I'm so sorry. Adam Gray. Good morning, internet friends. And so that'll be. And thank you to everyone else who was here. And I'll miss saying hi to you, but I appreciate you all the same. Also, definitely need to thank RRTNZ for the $2 New Zealand. Who said, "Is that a Who song? Won't get Cthulhu fooled again."
I've actually had another review for the book dropped while we were live.
Nice, that's awesome. And Cam bought the book because of this live stream, so that is wonderful. Thank you so much, Cam.
Thank you.
And here's the excerpt that I wanted to read as we're heading out, and I hope everybody has a happy New Year. If I don't, I will be having a New Year's Eve stream at 11 a.m. Central Time on the 31st about Ghostbusters 2, because it is a New Year's movie, so it'll be fun. And here's the excerpt from Chapter 10 of Silver Screen Journeys by Lance Nielsen. This chapter. Wait, I wanted to read this part. Okay, here it is.
Okay, go ahead, please do.
Not everyone gets to fall in love. Not everyone has a special day in their life. At least I got to experience all of those moments. But all things are often only temporary. Life is like that. The good times come in waves, but periods of personal struggles are often not far behind. It's like I always say, it's not about how you survived the storm. It's about how you can dance in the rain.
Good quote.
Oh, sorry, Lance. I think you wanted to add something that and I cut you off there with my end titles.
Hello, sorry, I just dashed to the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Are we still
I
live?
think I cut you. I cut you. We are done. I just thought you wanted to add something because I cut you off there at the end.
No. That was the perfect ending, Jill. You did a perfect first take.
I know, and I know. but Greek Letters wants to give us a
thank you so much
joke,
for having me on. What an honor,
Tune in.
letting me rattle on for so long. And I was.
Yeah,
I'm going
and
to dash now because
we'll
I've got to
hang out
get to
again.
the shop. I've got to get to the shop
Yes.
before it shuts.
Yeah, get going. And I'm sorry, I kind of messed up the awesomeness there, but I do that sometimes when I think somebody had something else to add. But I'll see you when next time we
talk
get
really
around.
soon.
Yes.
Thank you, chat. Thank you for the support.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, show's over, folks. Tune in next time for a Christmas Carol. Why would I do a Christmas Carol after Christmas? You're funny, Greek Letters. And a smearing of a wonderful person called the Ebenezer Scrouts from Insidious Mischievous Charles Dickens. Thanks, everyone. Jill has a great supportive call. Oh, that's a joke from when everybody started saying, okay, well, we get together as friends and everything. And Herc 130 says, not joking, joking a test. I'm mowing my lawn right now. Love West Texas. Yeah, I do have that problem where I want to say goodbye to everybody. And Keith, he wanted to know if he washed his hands. I'm sure. Yeah, we'll handle it in post. No, I'm always that way. Just pretend that the last ending was actually how I ended it.
Learn all that is learnable. And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty. It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
May we together become greater than the sum of both of us.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
See you around the galaxy.